Bimbo, Gorma in Nyeri County have been rescued alive. 3 were rescued following an operation being carried out by residents in collaboration with the Red Cross Society and government agencies. The 3 were rushed to Bondo Hospital for treatment while the search for the 4th person continues. So far, only 1 person has been confirmed dead as a result of the tragedy. A total of 8 people were stranded while 6 people have been rescued alive so far. The Ministry of Health insists that COVID-19 vaccination remains voluntary despite an earlier directive that only those who are fully vaccinated will receive access to public services. This comes after Kenya received 4.6 million doses of the AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines from the government of Argentina and Germany that is set to boost the country's COVID-19 vaccination drive. The December 21st deadline is fast approaching, a date when the ministry is set to make true its claims of denying persons not fully vaccinated any access to public services. According to CS Muthui, the ministry's decision does not in any way indicate that vaccination is mandatory.
Let's not be the usual thing of waiting until the last minute for you to start rushing for your vaccine. We have set that deadline very clearly and a long time ago to say that if you want to get on the train, if you want to go to a restaurant, if you want to go to a government office, if you want to get onto a plane, if you want to leave Kenya, you will have to be vaccinated. If you don't want to be vaccinated, that's fine with us. So you'll be free to operate in a manner that you can. I'm sure you'll be quite creative in doing so, but we cannot risk other Kenyans because of the fact that 1 or 2 people do not wish to be vaccinated.
German Ambassador to Kenya, Annette Gunther, urged Kenyans to go get vaccinated as the country continues to put in place measures to boost the fight against COVID-19.
No one is safe until everyone is safe, and that's why we regard it as our responsibility to contribute and to help our partners worldwide.
The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission will next week start issuing certificates to political parties whose nomination rules meet the requirement of Section 27 of the Elections Act. Chairperson Wafula Chebukati says the Commission has received the revised nomination rules from 89 political parties and are currently reviewing the documentation. IEBC has again warned politicians against early campaigns, further urging them to only hold campaigns once they have been allowed to do.
The Commission flagged out areas which we feel require amendment arising from post-election evaluation and especially the 2017 elections. So those are areas we are looking at to harmonize certain timelines and also to look at areas that can improve our election process come next year.
Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i has called on Kenyans to find better ways of resolving conflicts. While commenting on the case that involved an officer attached in Kabete killing 6 people before taking his own life, the CS linked the Kabete shooting incident to a love triangle. He revealed that the matter is being probed by the DCI Internal Affairs in coordination with the National Police Service.
We are investigating the matter. It's so painful to see how some of us trivialize a serious issue like that. They drag porojo in politics, they go on social media, they want to score points, they want to spin rumors and all manner of nonsense, and yet we have a grave issue before us, calling the Inspector General names, insulting everybody, the CS and all that. That is not the way to solve our problems. The way to resolve this is to come together and work together.
Police Constable Benson Imbatu killed his wife and 6 others before shooting himself. 2 other people escaped with gunshot wounds. And the preparations for the climax for the Azimio la Umoja initiative spearheaded by ODM Chief Raila Odinga at Kasarani are on top gear. ODM and Jubilee MPs toured Kasarani Stadium with the organizing committee saying the stadium is ready for the event with 60,000 people expected to attend. Minority Whip Junaid Mohammed, leading the technical team, said enough measures have been put in place to ensure strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to announce his presidential bid ahead of next year's general election.
And we know that we are expecting here 60,000 people. We hope there will not be more than 60 because this stadium can only carry 60,000 people.
It is going to be locked out of Kasarani. Hata wakijaa watakaa kule nje, hatuna maneno. So many people wanauliza tutapewa kadi. Hakuna kadi.
Tumealika wabunge zaidi ya 200. Tumealika gavana zaidi ya 40 na kufikia leo gavana zaidi ya 30 wameconfirm.
And on Friday we expect you to leave anything you are doing as we'll be rewriting history. Come and attest how hope will be rekindled in the nation.
And Kiambu County Assembly Speaker Stephen Disho has suspended 15 MCAs from the House for 90 days over what he termed as disorderly conduct. And Speaker Disho, in a memo dated December 3rd, accused the MCAs of storming the Assembly armed with hammers, chains and locks and disrupting a board meeting on December 2nd. They allegedly threatened and harassed members of the board. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatekana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM, Nyeri.
It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it is. And traffic really isn't an issue right now. We're seeing that folks haven't quite woken up, and those who did a lot earlier have gotten where they're going without too much of a headache. Where is it building up this morning? We're looking at a little bit of traffic on Mombasa Road, and that's outbound. Inbound traffic, not so much of a thing. That Imara Daima stretch has a bit of an issue right now. That construction is taking place, and we had some traffic there from as early as 4 o'clock. Southern Bypass looking pretty good. Jogo Road then heading out into the cities where you also see a bit of a pile up, but it's moving. We're not at a bumper-to-bumper situation just yet. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, at that junction between that and Muthui Square is also where you have some extra traffic. Apart from that, everything else still at a dull roar this morning. And as we get into it, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. It's in the middle of the week. Let's keep things moving.
Are you ready? Okay. Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday, the 8th day of December 2021. How are you doing? We're glad that you're tuned in this morning. Hope that all is well wherever you are around the world. Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, and C.T. Muga are here. C.T.
Yes, please.
Otherwise?
Maze niko tu at least.
Good.
Na wewe?
Mimi niko poa.
Lakini uzuri, siko tu at least hivi. Niko among pia.
Uko among?
Niko among. Sasa hivyo. Mimi naweza kusema niko bam.
Very good.
Yes.
Bas. Ndu?
Yeah.
How is it?
Fine. It is fine.
It's rolling well.
It is.
Very good. Very good. Ni muhimu.
Sindio?
Ni muhimu sana.
I agree.
Yes. Yes.
And how are things with you, sir?
My things are good.
That's very good.
Yes.
That too is important.
It's very important. Kabisa. So, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Today we will have conversations on governance and leadership in the country. At 7 o'clock, we have a young man who wants to be the next MP for Dagoretti North. And you'll be here and we'll ask him, so, why you? And the whole conversation will be around, are we going to have more and more youthful people seeking higher elective positions? We know that we are most likely going to have a majority of the people who are going for the MCA slot being youthful persons below 35. How about the other seats? Governor, Senator, Woman Rep, MP, President. We already have seen some youth. So we'll be joined by one of the younger people who wants to be a member of the National Assembly. Number one. Number two, at 8 o'clock, we'll have Professor Kivutha Kibwana, who says he's still in the race for presidency in 2022. So we'll ask him, you mean?
Where were you? Okay.
We had almost like assumed you have given up on that move. So he'll tell us what his plans are, how he plans. We saw he tweeted on Sunday and said, Kenyans, just do a door-to-door campaign for me. Tell everybody that Kivutha Kibwana is vying to be president and I can make a good president. So he'll be here and we'll tell him, all right, so you tell us. Why should I go and tell my next-door neighbor about you? At 9 o'clock, we are likely going to have another governor who will be visiting us, and he's the governor of Kakamega County. He'll be in the building, and we'll ask him to come and say hello. Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. Let's begin the conversation on COVID-19, and then we also talk about mental health.
Indeed. 1 million cases in the last 2 days is what we are looking at now around the world. 267,387,468. Those are the global numbers that we're looking at. Question now coming out from many quarters is that, or rather the statement is that vaccines should work against the Omicron virus. According to the World Health Organization, existing vaccines should still protect people who contract Omicron variant from severe COVID cases. According to a World Health Organization official, it comes as the first lab tests of the new variant in South Africa suggest it could partially evade the Pfizer jab specifically. Researchers say that there was a very large drop in how well the vaccine's antibodies neutralized the new strain. But Dr. Mike Ryan from the World Health Organization says there was no sign Omicron would be better off at evading vaccines than any other variants. So there's still the possibility, a great possibility, that it could the vaccines that are available can take care of this.
Okay.
He said initial data suggested Omicron did not make people sicker than the Delta and other strains. If anything, the direction is towards less severity, which is what he's saying now. The new...
Who's this?
World Health Organization Emergencies Director, Dr.
Good. Mike Ryan.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Though the study, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, found that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine may be up to 40 times less effective against Omicron than the original COVID strain, what he's saying now is that you can put that worry to bed because we're seeing that Omicron as a variant doesn't make people as sick as other varieties or other variants. All right? So... the long and short of it is saying, okay, let's not worry too much because the vaccines that are available...
This actually could be a good thing.
Yes.
This variant could be a good variant. It's spreading very fast, but it's not as deadly, which means that it pushes out the other more deadlier variants like the Delta. And then now this one, so you get it, but the severity is lower.
Exactly.
Could be a good thing. It could be the one step towards normalizing COVID. Okay.
Let's look very quickly at what's happening in the country. Latest reports from the Ministry of Health. We're still looking at low numbers in terms of infections of COVID-19 in the country. A low positivity rate of well under 5%. So this is good. So far, with the more vaccines that have come into the country, over 21 million vaccines have been made available in the country. And this is with, the reception of more over the last 72 hours, actually. So that takes the number up there quite some. Ministry of Health is saying, look, guys, what are we? We're encouraging community leaders to spearhead conversations around vaccination. We still welcome external partners to join us in vaccination campaigns. This is coming directly from the CS. Having received about 21 million doses of vaccines, we have administered about 8.5 million first doses, but only about 3 million Kenyans, which is 10% of the population, is completely vaccinated. So now he's saying, you know what, guys, there's a committee, that's true. The vaccines are available in the country. Now we need to go into the community and say, guys, come out and get vaccinated. The vaccines are available. Let's get folks vaccinated. And so getting people to have a more, deliberate approach to doing this was his suggestion.
Good thing. It's a good thing. It's 6:15, so let's take this quick break and take a look at the weather, and then we look at the main stories in the papers today. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and we are also, of course, having the conversations on Instagram and on SpiceFM around the country. Good morning wherever you are. If you're online, say hello to us. We'd love to see that you are online and say hello back at you. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Famous, the secrets we keep, live La Liga action. Offer Showmax Black Friday special imeingia. Lipa for 1 month and get a second month sari. Yani 2 whole months of the biggest shows in Kenya, na English Premier League footer, and lots more. Zote for one low price only on Showmax. Offer inachomoka soon, so sign up chap at showmax.com.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 15 today. Nakuru City is cloudy as well at 14, highs of 27. We'll see highs of 24 in Nyeri, where it's mostly clear at 14. And Eldoret, clear at 14, highs of 25 and lows of 14 today. Mombasa, light rain in some parts at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And Malindi is raining as well at 26. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 26. Rain showers in Kisumu this morning at 21, highs of 30 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's 18 and clear, highs of 30. Going into Uganda, Kampala specifically, it's mostly clear at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 20. While in Dar es Salaam, it's sunny at 24 with highs of 29 today. Cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 23, and Lagos is mostly clear at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 26. Partly cloudy conditions in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 29, and lows of 23. Outside of the continent, it's sunny in Beijing at 3. Going into early afternoon, there'll see highs of 7 and lows of 0. Cloudy in Paris at 6, highs of 7 and lows of 3. 7 degrees and clear in London, highs of 8 today. And New York, still Tuesday night, is clear at 4 degrees. Coming into a chilly Wednesday, we'll see highs of 6 and lows of 3.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It's 19
Nairobi.
minutes after 6. A very good morning to you, wherever you are, and where are they?
Dr. Elisha Oneko says, good morning, tuned in from Mombasa, Port Reitz, near the Moi International Airport, specifically.
All right.
Says, good morning. Makwara Western Bushiere. That is where Pascal Kwena is. Good morning, tuned in here to the Situation Room. That's coming in from Abdir Kadir Abdallah. Linda says, good morning. As we talk about availability of vaccines, maybe it would just be good to say which hospitals or health centers have the vaccines. Indeed, been preaching that for a while now, just so that one doesn't go there and is told that there are no vaccines. Very true. Leo says, good morning, tuned in from Nakuru. Good morning and nice day to you too as well. Thank you for joining us. MCA James says, good morning from Nyali, Mombasa. Owenga in Nyeri County is where Kay is tuned in from this morning. And Vincent Ogutu says, good morning. Laban says, good morning, waiting for the interview with Elijah Owenga from as the Dagoretti hopeful. The guy is great and you like him. We'll wait and see. Robert Bogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Good morning from Eldoret to all the audience from all over the world tuned to SpiceFM. I can see all of you this morning. Wilberforce tuning from Eldoret. Good morning to the world from Spice. Indeed. I can see all of you guys. Can't get to all of you, but thanks for joining us.
Karibuni sana, everybody. City.
Yes.
Today's proverb.
Yes, we are still in the land of the Swahili. Arusi usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe utalipa.
Arusi what?
Usioalikwa. Ukivunja kikombe utalipa.
I know the last part.
Yes, if you go to a wedding and you were not invited, perchance, should it happen that you break a cup or the breakage of a cup is associated with you, you will pay. That is a direct translation. The simple meaning, mistakes have to be rectified.
It just means keep off if you've not been invited.
You're not invited.
Usiende mahali utakikani bwana.
Yeah.
When you're not invited, it
Bad
means
things happen.
Yeah, you'll be told they forgot, and I'm saying they didn't want you there. So please get the message.
Don't go.
Get the message.
Just usiende.
See, other people got invited, and then you got forgotten.
Yes.
Okay, my friend.
If the people who have been invited break cups, they're okay.
Then they were invited to break cups. You, on the other hand, not only were you not invited, then you proceed to break a cup. They've accommodated you.
Surely.
Then you come and start destroying property.
Surely.
No. I like the proverb.
You like the proverb?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The newspapers, Standard e-paper, standardmedia.co.ke. You get access to the Standard e-paper every single day for 20 shillings only, deductible from your mobile phone. And then you have access to all of this content in the paper, including the Standard Media Archives, the oldest media archives in the Republic of Kenya. What's in the headlines?
Front page, I guess, on quite a number of these is a killer cop that we're looking at. The Nation says, for killer officer, it was a matter of when and not if. The Standard, killer cop's last call and love turned sour. Constable Benson Mbatu called a cousin moments after killing his lover, then shot 5 other people dead before taking his own life. Yesterday, it emerged that the officer had, in the past, had vicious fights with his partner, Carol. Of course, we saw that story yesterday, and there's a picture here. Officers removed barricades on Nairobi's Wayaki Way after protests over the killing of 6 civilians by a policeman who also took his own life yesterday. Okay. Investigations show the last call by Constable Benson Mbatu of the Kabete police station was to his cousin and lasted about a minute and a half. Mbatu reportedly told the relative that he had killed a woman he only identified as Carol, who he was said to have had a relationship with, and that he would eventually kill himself. So this is what he told his cousin, right? The 1:03 a.m. call did not, however, reveal why he had killed the woman, who he had been seeing for 3 months. At the station where Mbatu worked for 3 years, fellow officers were still coming to terms with the death of their colleague, who Dagoretti police boss Francis Wahome described as hardworking. The 53-year-old father of 3 kept to himself. Most of the officers who spoke to the Standard said he was a quiet man whose mind you couldn't easily read. The colleagues also knew him as a man of short temper and kept away whenever he was in a foul mood. The officers told of an incident in September where Mbatu and Carol got into an argument that saw him pull out her hair. Ouch. So vicious was the fight that Carol reported the incident at the station, but the matter was sorted out of court and the two reconciled. According to another officer, he's the kind of man you couldn't understand. At times, a small joke would turn ugly, even with his colleagues. They recalled an incident in 2018 when Mbatu is reported to have attacked and injured a man who was engaged in a dispute over rent with his landlord. Mbatu confronted the rent defaulter and punched him so badly that he had to seek medical help. The matter is said to have been reported to the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, and is still under investigation. Well, now he's late. Residents of Gishagi area in Kangemi claim last Sunday an angry Mbati stormed into a bar the two owned, where he caused commotion as he taunted customers with his gun. He fired 5 bullets into the bar, destroying a TV set. Residents said the matter was brought to the attention of his bosses. It is not clear whether action was taken. After 31 years in service and 7 years before his retirement, Mbatu's career and life ended tragically yesterday. Wahome said he was not aware of the incident. He also declined to comment on the motive of the shootings, even as Interior CS Fred Matiang'i announced that preliminary investigations pointed to a love triangle. This last statement is very interesting. This is not the first time that Matiang'i has said the same thing about a police and their lover, a police officer and their lover getting into this embattlement, and said another love triangle has happened. And he said, what? This thing of relationships amongst yourselves. We don't want it. Said the same thing. These words can almost be quoted verbatim. Speaking at the Admin Police Training College in Utawala, the memorial service for officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, Matiang'i said the DCI and the Internal Affairs unit of the police were still investigating the matter. So what happened? In chronology, December 6th, midnight, Mbatu and his fellow officers decide to end their night patrol. The commander of the civilian police patrol car directs the officers to meet in the office at 6 a.m. the following morning. December 7th, midnight, Mbatu and his girlfriend, identified as Carol, get to their rented house in Kangemi's Mountain View estate after she closes a bar the couple co-own. 1 a.m., gunshots are heard from Mbatu's house. A neighbor informs officers at the Kabete police station. A few minutes later, the couple's house catches fire. Mbatu is later seen outside the Kabete station in a white probox. 1:30 a.m., Kabete police station informs the Nairobi area control room of the incident. Officers from the Crime Intelligence Bureau are deployed to help track down Mbatu. 1:45 a.m., officers manning a roadblock near Kabete station join the hunt for Mbatu, who by this time has shot a DJ and a bread distributor 200 meters from the station. Mbatu comes across 2 border riders and does what? Shoots them and a pillion passenger. 3 a.m., Mbatu shoots himself after police officers and border riders corner him as he walks towards his house. In total, he discharges 26 bullets.
Those are many. Those are many.
And how many people have been killed?
5. Plus himself, 6.
You know, if you just think about the story as is being told by fellow officers, this is a man who is known to have a short temper. He is 53 years old. Yeah. Short temper. He's always, they're saying, in fact, you're always to be very careful with how you're dealing with Officer Mbatu, because you may be cracking a joke and it just rubs him the wrong way. And he blows a fuse.
The man is ready to be rubbed the wrong way.
Yes. He's constantly, on edge. He doesn't speak much, but then even when you're dealing with him, you always have to walk on eggshells around him. This particular person that he has killed, the reported girlfriend or wife, is a woman that he met who was working at a pub that he frequented. Then start going out, and then she stops working there. She comes to live with him. He opens a pub for her. And the accusation here is, he says that she still has some other lovers that she's dealing with. It's when you look at all these things and then what else he has done before, there are stories being told there of a place where there was a case between a landlord and a tenant.
Yes.
Landlord is saying, tenant, please pay. Landlord calls cops. Cops come. Who's cop? Mbatu. Listens to the stories where tenant, lip a landlord. He boxes the tenant. Tenant had to go and get stitches. That's how he sorts issues.
By the way, I remember when we had a conversation with senior police officers, and we did touch on this particular matter, and they said there are plans, there are arrangements, there are things in place, the IG is set in place, a psychosocial support system. This guy was an explosive device waiting to go off.
But he has told people that there was something wrong. He may not have verbally said there's something wrong with me.
He's been saying it for a long time.
He's been saying it for the longest time, that there's something off.
Do you know, those who study psychology will tell you that a lot of the things that this guy has been doing, those are cries for help.
Absolutely.
He is not verbalizing and saying, I need help, but it is clear he needs help. This is not the only case we have in our police service. People have ended up dying, civilians who had absolutely nothing to do with anything.
In fact, they were responding to a cry for help.
Yes.
They saw a fire, they heard people wailing, they were coming.
They were coming to help.
To help.
And they paid for it with their lives.
With their lives.
Imagine, border rider, bread distributor at that time of the morning, going about his daily chore.
Neighbor, DJ.
Neighbor, a DJ in a local.
You know, whenever you
bar.
hear this, you think of the families of the people who have now died needlessly.
Needlessly.
Okay? So how many people must we see being killed in these circumstances before we realize that we actually have a mental health disaster in our hands? We forget pandemic. This.
And it's not in the making.
No.
It's been acknowledged. The CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, as he spoke yesterday with the APs, he had actually gone to, attend a function at the AP Embakasi where they were commemorating officers who've died in the line of duty. He said he's aware that mental health and social pressure could be among the factors fueling the upsurge of police brutality and killings. He says the government will commit more resources to mental health and counselling to help police and prisons officers deal with stress and other personal challenges. Our officers from the Internal Affairs Unit and the DCI have gone to the scene. They're investigating this matter, but as a cabinet secretary, I'm frustrated by such happenings. I admit that we have problems of mental health as well as social pressures. However, this is a time for us to unite as a country and not trivialize such serious issues on social media.
Eric, I am aware that there's an ozone layer. I am also keenly aware that every once in a while you will see the sun coming out, and what I'm certain about is that it will set. Is there anything I can do to determine this cycle or to interfere with it?
No.
Nothing whatsoever. However, you are the Minister for Interior and you're telling us you are aware. Of course you are aware. You should be aware. What you ought to be telling us in detail is not your awareness. We are aware that you are aware. You should be telling us the things that we spoke about that we were going to do. We've done this and this and this. And we are now moving to phase 3. Our master plan is this. This is what we hope to achieve in X number of years, resources permitting. But for now, this is where we are. None of that has been told. So exactly what have we been told? Nothing.
Same story. The government will commit more resources to mental health.
Sure they will.
Zero. We've been told absolutely nothing. That statement means absolutely nothing.
Same old stories. It's the same old stories.
These policemen whose lives were snuffed out, many of them did not need to die.
Yep.
And right now, with all the turmoil that we keep seeing in the northern frontier areas of our country, policemen are dying every other day. They don't need to die.
Police are dealing with a lot of things. They deal with a lot of things. And if you actually are not helping them cope with this, you're not helping at all. On a daily basis, you're dealing with a child who's been defiled. You're dealing with the woman who's been murdered, a man who's been decapitated. You're dealing with a road accident.
Body.
All these things. You're dealing with shootouts.
Daily.
On a daily basis, you just know, as long as you're a police officer in uniform, you are in danger.
Yes, you are.
You could just be walking out, just peacefully, just on patrol, carrying your gun, and then you meet
You're a walking target.
Yes. They're dealing with a lot on a daily basis.
The question that we keep asking.
And then there's also now, they joined the service. For many of them, they are the sole breadwinners, not just for their immediate family, but for the extended family.
Yes, they are.
So they have all this pressure. You've got siblings to take to school. You've got parents to take care of. You've got
relatives.
Other relatives who are looking up to you. There's a lot.
And all these things, and you pile upon it, their duties, security for the nation, and the question that we keep asking, do you resource them adequately? And the answer is clearly no.
And you can't have, I'm sorry, but you can't have a Band-Aid for hemorrhage kind of moment where the CS said what he said, that, okay, so this way we're going to deal with this is that stop having relationships amongst yourselves. That is not the answer. That is not the solution.
The other thing he told them yesterday, legalize your marriages.
That's the solution?
It's among the things that he says will help. It's for their welfare, though. That one makes sense, a bit of sense.
I don't have. I think, regardless whether you're in the police
of
service
all
or
the
not,
things he could have said, that is how. No, Eric,
that's something you could apply to the entire country. But in this case, where you're dealing with this kind of crisis that you're dealing with, a lot more than this has to be done.
Let's take a break. It's 25 minutes to 7. Good morning.
(24/7) around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello, you've reached the Wish hotline. Your wish is our command.
Hello, neza make a wish.
Unaweza. What do you want to wish for?
I wish ningeondoa stress ya storage, packaging na shipping to my customers so I can focus more on growing my online business bila hizo hassles.
Try Sendy.
Sendy?
Yes, Sendy. You can download the fulfillment app and begin fulfilling with Sendy today.
Always wishing for a solution to manage your operations? Sendy Fulfillment is here to bring your wishes to life. We pick, store, pack, and ship your orders to your customers bila stress. Download the Sendy Fulfillment app today. Do more with Sendy.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December for Tis the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas directed by Atemi Oyungu with music by Eric Wainaina and produced by Sheba Hast. Get your tickets now on Ticket Saza. Come one, come all, and let's make merry and have a jolly good time. All guidelines set by the Ministry of Health shall be followed.
Okay, a few minutes after 6:30, and we're seeing a bit of a sprinkle in some parts of the city this morning, so that's going to slow things down significantly. But traffic is mostly where we are seeing on Jogo Road today, and then a little bit on Huru Highway as you get past the Nyeri Stadium roundabout and past the Bunyala Road roundabout as well. Gong Road looking pretty good. Coming off of Thika Superhighway is where you find the most of it this morning inbound, and then getting towards the Pangani, Pangani at the underpass. Coming out of Westlands, also quite some traffic. But remember, you can use the Red Hill Link Road and you should be all right. So really, it hasn't really picked up this morning, and it's a good time to be out if you haven't just yet. What are we looking at? The eastern side of the city looking pretty good, actually, for now. So we'll keep an eye on things. Let us know in case you do run into something. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Okay, so let's talk about Showmax again today, right? And we're talking about the free trial, 14 days. And if you subscribe to Showmax today, you get an extra 1 month free. Yesterday, they touched on the issue that you can actually download any content that you want off Showmax and then watch it later offline. And it's a good thing in this festive season as you're traveling. You want to go to Shags, you want to go out of town, wherever, into the Bundus for Christmas holidays, and you still want to go with your programming, download on Showmax and carry it on your mobile device.
And you can be watching.
And you'll be watching wherever you are.
Isn't that a happy thought?
Oh, kabisa.
Meaning, you put it in storage.
Yes.
And then you can unleash it.
You're packing it with everything else.
You can unleash it when you want. And you can unleash what you want, when you want, how you want. Hiya.
Showmax, www.showmax.com. And don't worry, are you already subscribed to DSTV? You can actually upgrade from your DSTV and upgrade and you also get Showmax. So you go with it wherever you are going. It's 21 minutes to 7.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, it is now 21
94.4.
7, and we're still looking at what else is in the papers today. City, what are you looking at?
I am looking at the Business Daily.
Okay.
Mobile phone loan rates now under CBK control. The Central Bank of Kenya will start controlling the interest rates of mobile digital loans and ban lenders who share personal data of defaulters under a new law that seeks to protect Kenyan borrowers from predatory lending. President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday signed into law the Central Bank Bill of 2021 in illegal changes that bring digital lending under the watchdog of the banking regulator for the first time.
Right.
The CBK Act 2021 will see the lenders seek approval of the central bank for the pricing of their loans and products, subjecting them to the same rules as commercial banks. But these aren't the same rules because, no. You see, banks can actually give information of defaulters to these other bodies.
To CRB.
They can give.
Yep.
So, these guys were prohibited at some point.
No, it was just for a short time.
So it was unleashed.
Yeah, it was just a reprieve.
Released, yeah.
It was the reprieve that was even extended by the president during Mashujaa Day because of COVID situation.
Yeah, but otherwise they are allowed to do so.
Yes.
And they can do so.
Yes.
All right, then they are under the same rules.
So now they're under the same rule, which is a good thing. By the way, the Digital Lenders Association of Kenya chairman, when he joined us here, he was telling us they were the ones who were pushing for this. They were working and saying we want to be regulated so that we also protect the industry and our sector. We don't want to have rogue people who are coming in. We want to have people who are operating above board. And the best way is to be under the ambit of a regulator. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing that now the central bank can see everybody who is operating in the financial services sector.
But the other thing that I want to ask, when they say the same platform, I'm not giving up on this one. I'm still at it. One of the things that the central bank does to banks, it is the lender of last resort.
Yes.
So are they also going to provide these digital lenders to these particular lenders? Because if they're under the same roof and saying it is the same, is it also going to be?
I assume so.
Maybe we have to ask them.
It's put them under the Central Bank Act now.
Yes, so it means that all the other services that the banking industry enjoys or the relationship that they have will be the same.
Yeah. However, here now, the difference here is that these guys, for example, are not deposit takers and such. So there are some things that apply to commercial banks and microfinance, deposit-taking microfinance that will not operate in this particular case.
All right. Let me ask you, is M-Shwari a digital lender?
M-Shwari? Yes.
Okay. They take deposits.
Yes.
You see where I'm going with my discussion?
There's a little detail.
Yes, I am saying
M-Shwari is actually in partnership with a commercial bank, NCBA.
It is true.
So the deposit is with
NCBA. Where I'm going with this, I am saying that this article gives us a good indication of what is happening, but it would make a great deal of difference if all the details of the similarities and differences and why those differences and similarities exist was actually provided, so that we could have full disclosure and we can be fully and duly informed. Okay?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's December, and the FAO, you know that body?
Yep.
Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations?
Yep.
They've raised the red flag for a fresh locust invasion in December. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hopper bands will hatch from eggs along the Ethiopia-Kenya border in coming weeks, FAO said. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has warned of a fresh wave of desert locust invasion in Kenya and Ethiopia starting from mid-December. So that's about next week. FAO says more swarms are laying eggs. They will hatch to form hopper bands along the Ethiopian-Kenya border in the coming weeks. If FAO's predictions are anything to go by, then the country is staring down the barrel of a fresh invasion of the ravenous pests just months after the country has been declared locust-free. FAO said in its latest update delivered through Director General Ku Dong-yu that a few small spring-bred mature swarms, so spring-bred being in these rains that have currently have happened just over the last couple of weeks, have arrived in northeast Kenya from Somalia during the first week of November, and then have moved back to southern Ethiopia, where control operations are ongoing. Kenya suffered the worst infestation in 70 years, which is also the worst outbreak in 25 years for Somalia and Ethiopia. Locust numbers exploded in 2019 in December, fueled by unusual weather patterns, and spread eastwards from Yemen, with Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia hardest hit. FAO's report further revealed that the vegetation has dried out in major parts of the neighboring countries. So they're looking here for those fresh shoots that are coming as a result of the rain. Therefore, the agency warns the swarms will migrate to southern Ethiopia and Somalia and spread to northeast Kenya. There are more risks that the fast-moving pests will spread west to counties in the north. Samburu County, which was one of the worst hit by the destructive pests during the first and second invasions, has opted to use chiefs to help in surveillance. County Special Programs Chief Officer Daniel Lesaigor said officials are on high alert for a possible outbreak. Doesn't necessarily say what exactly they're doing, but they're on high alert.
At least during that period, we heard even from FAO that our alert systems, our reporting systems, our monitoring systems had improved.
Yes.
And so the fact that they are able even to detect the eggs are being hatched now, this is what's likely to happen, it means that they are likely to be at least ahead of the curve.
Yes, it would be great.
Oh my goodness. Just a little rain that rains and then the vegetation starts shooting, and here we have something coming to consume instead of our livestock.
You know, this country, drama never ceases.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Remember the renovations we were speaking of?
Hold on.
I have held it.
Yes. Just hold it. Let's take this quick break. It's 14 minutes to 7. We'll hear about the renovations shortly.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Want to add some sweetness to your life? Then look no further. Spice FM is teaming up with Dairyland to make all of the happiest moments in your life even more delicious. To win a Dairyland hamper, all you have to do is follow Dairyland on social media. That is Dairyland_KE on Instagram and Dairyland Products on Facebook. And then work on your pickup game and tune into the adults in the room from 7 p.m. every weekday for your chance to #GetWhipped with Dairyland.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, 13 to 7. What's the drama, City?
The drama
is
at Uhuru Park.
Uhuru Park, this one of ours.
Yeah, remember there was a renovation?
Yes.
The NMS was carrying out.
NMS said they want to start renovations.
They started, actually.
Uh-huh.
They did start. However, the court has stopped that project.
Because?
Appropriate authorization from NEMA was not acquired. Meaning they started the project without getting NEMA approval.
So NEMA is not aware?
NEMA
basically
has said, while supporting the application, they admitted that no environmental effects and social assessment reports have been submitted to it for consideration in respect of the project. As such, no environmental impact assessment and social assessment license has been issued. That thing of procedure.
Why?
Let me give a perspective.
Right.
It is possible that somebody informed the authorities at NMS that yes, we've done, and didn't. There are many instances where something as simple and straightforward as this has happened, and you wonder, how did they miss it? It's not they miss it. There's an individual, or there's a department. There are people whose job it is to do this, and they said, yes, done.
And nothing was done.
Yeah, but then also,
Uhuru Park's in here too. See, it exists.
And in the county of Nairobi.
Just doing a renovation, we need to do.
Do I call NEMA when I want to change furniture in my house?
This is Uhuru Park, your house.
So NEMA says you needed to have done an ESIA.
Yes.
You didn't do.
And a license needed to have been issued.
Yes, you need to get that license.
And that license was not issued.
But actually, it's important when you think about it.
It's absolutely important.
You're saying you're going to do renovations. So what's the environment impact? What's the social impact? So what happens to the people who've been using Uhuru Park?
Yes.
In the meantime.
And what is your plan? Because these guys just come and cut down trees.
Yes.
And cut down everything. You need to show us how it is you're going to navigate around the shrubbery. You need to.
You're saying you are increasing water. So
okay, how are you coming from? Exactly.
But did they not? This is the question always, because then you start the project and then it stopped because somebody goes to court, right? Did you not know that this procedure was supposed to happen? You knew. So why not just follow procedure? You knew that this was supposed to happen. It's just like now, you have a tree in your compound, right? You can't just go cutting down your tree. You must
you can't.
You can't. You must go seek approval from the county.
I mean, you think it's your tree, isn't it?
You think you would think.
It's not your tree.
So how much more? How much more? This is a tree in your compound where you reside every day. Close your gate, right? How much more an open space that belongs to the public? Do you not realize that you know that there is procedure that must be followed? You just don't do it. Now you've started the work and then they've stopped you.
The question is then, let's ask then, all right? When it comes to whatever work, some beautiful work that appears to be going on inside Uhuru Gardens. Uhuru Gardens was closed to the public for more than a year and a half.
Yeah.
The military moved in. The military has been building some beautiful things. You see them from the southern bypass.
You do.
Some nice buildings. Was there an environmental impact assessment that was done?
Has anybody asked that question?
Yes.
Has anybody taken it to court to say, hold on, what's going on in Uhuru Gardens? And then you find out there's no report.
Had never given a go-ahead for this.
This is the question.
Do you know, you have raised a very important point. The question should be for all such projects.
Yes.
Do you have such an assessment done?
Absolutely.
We don't doubt that it is a good thing.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
But
have you ticked all
Are
the
you
boxes?
following procedure?
Yes.
You know, maybe NEMA just looks, no, not NEMA, NMS looks at, Buddy came in, Buddy decided, put pavements on the roads. He didn't have to do it, NEMA, well, we're just upgrading
the pavements already existed. All you're doing.
We're just upgrading the pavement.
Yes.
So the same thing is thinking, Uhuru Park already existed.
So let's just go ahead. I say you can't cut a tree in your compound without getting approval. But you are in an arid area today, right? You would assume that, okay, you're building an estate development.
You want to sink they're not cutting any tree. In fact, they're adding trees and planting grass.
But think about it like this. You're developing an estate. You want to sink a borehole. You would assume we're not going to go and ask the county, I want to sink a borehole. You just go ahead, right? Well, no.
You need
don't.
the Water Resources
you need
Authority.
The commissioning of that
Water
thing to
Resources Users Association.
It needs to give you a license.
The trees on the route of this expressway were just being cut willy-nilly. Until we came across a sycamore tree in Westlands. No, it wasn't a sycamore tree. It was
it's a fig tree.
It's a fig tree.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay? So now, what? Do you know the number of trees that were cut around Nairobi University, near Serena? I mean, those trees are as old as life itself. They just went down. Now you ask yourself, the people who plan for these things, they do not think that it is significant because those who planted those trees, there was a plan to it. And it's just that you took it for granted. But when you drove along that road, there was always shrubbery, there were always trees. You see it so often until you forget they exist.
Yeah.
And then when they cut them down, you say, why is this place looking strange? And that's what has happened now. For every grand national project, I think this is a question that must be asked.
Whether these things have actually been done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether we follow procedure. I saw yesterday the president, among the laws that the president assented to yesterday, was an amendment to the PPP Act, the Public-Private Partnership Law, that now expands the scope of PPPs to not just lending, but to also the participation of PPPs in construction and such. And I asked myself, but we already have a PPP that has construction going on. So,
for the expressway?
Yes.
Yes.
Because previously what we had, was we have a partnership with Exim Bank lends, and then we contract a contractor to do the job. Now is PPP where we are building an expressway.
But Eric, that was piloting.
Oh.
Yes, they piloted it. Now it can become law because they've seen it actually works.
We already started, and we're seeing this is
Pilot,
actually all right.
Now let's
So
bring in the law.
Now let's make it law.
prototype.
We've seen it can work.
work.
It can work.
Now let's bring in the law.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. When the president was speaking and he said, I want to say this because this is a house of record in his State of the Nation address, he repeated, Parliament is a house of records. And so I'm saying it here so that it goes on the records of Parliament that what we missed with the BBI, because some people need to hear. He said, we went to the public, we came back, and then some people, sitting somewhere, some 5 people decided that this is not the way to go. It speaks of the attitude from the very top. That, don't ask me about process and procedure. Is it a good thing or is it not a good thing?
If it's a good thing, then we just...
If it's a good thing, this whole thing about the process, we should have gone... Which people? We spoke to 3,000 people. 3 million people signed.
There's some unfortunate things that you get to hear from time to time, and you wish you hadn't. But, the public domain and the media are also places of record.
Yes. Yes. So when the president goes, out there and says, I don't get what the issue is. It's the same thing that he had said after the nullification of the 2017 election. I don't get what the issue is. Anyway, we'll go back to the vote, to the polls. I don't get what the issue is.
He doesn't get
it's
it?
about procedure.
Let me tell you
You
something
don't
else
get
about
it.
procedure very quickly.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised that there are places where people actually do obey court orders. Or rather, the law will catch up with you if you don't.
Okay.
Deputy Speaker Zachary Mwangi is among 3 Nyandara County officials who have been jailed for 2 months, even after disobeying court orders. Rather, each for disobeying court orders. Others jailed by High Court Judge Hilary Chemte, Majority Leader Edinold Wambogo, and Clerk Elizabeth Wajiro. The 3 disobeyed court orders dated October 4th, 2021, and are hereby committed to civil jail for 60 days from the dates of the arrest and imprisonment. The judge directed Inspector General of Police Hilary Musiamai to ensure the arrest and imprisonment of the 3. Whether that will happen or not is a totally different story. But the order follows a case by Speaker Ndegwa Wahome, who had been impeached, accusing the 3 officials of refusing to surrender his vehicle and mace despite an existing order. The court had on October 4th found Mwangi, Wambogo and Wajiro guilty of disobeying a July 22 order and fined them 200,000 shillings each. The order also directed them to allow Mr. Ndegwa free and unhindered access to the assembly and his office. Ndegwa had told the court he had been barred from accessing the assembly. He also accused the 3 of hiring goons to frustrate him and other assembly officials. In its ruling Monday, the court ordered the assembly to use all means necessary to break into the assembly and to remove padlocks on the doors and its precincts. The IG should ensure the assembly is fully opened and functional, pending the hearing and determination of the petition before the court. So these 3 might spend a happy 60 days in prison, in jail rather, not prison, because of this. So this court order thing amongst the judiciary, they're actually taking it quite seriously, guys. Well, this is a court order by a judicial officer has said X, Y, Z must be done. You don't do it.
Have they actually gone to
No, not yet.
prison?
Upon their jail, not prison. Upon their arrest.
But
That's what I'm telling you. Now, it actually matters when and if they will be arrested. That's now when this will be served. They've not been arrested yet.
They've not been arrested.
IG
but
has been given instructions to do so forthwith.
And take them where?
To
court?
No. Upon
To
their
prison.
arrest, they will be taken to civil jail for 60
Okay.
days.
Okay.
And the 60 days begins on the day they have been arrested and incarcerated.
Okay.
Yes.
The head of the DCI, who is supposed
Also
to
him.
track them down.
Also has a one waiting on his head.
Yes.
No, but he's a free man now. That was quashed. That was done.
Right.
I was about to say that he is the best person to carry this out because he has an understanding of
understands.
He gets it.
Yes.
Now he is the one who gets it.
Final one before we go in. Secondary school heads have proposed postponement of the national examinations for 2 months to calm the unrest in schools. The heads are also proposing early closure of schools to contain the growing indiscipline cases among the learners. The school heads argue that the students may not be ready to sit the national exams scheduled for March next year, leading to rising arson cases. Kenya School Heads Association Chairman Kahi Ndimuli says the present candidates were in Form 3 last year and their stay at home may have affected their preparedness for exams. So these exams of March next year, KCPE, just postpone them. Let them come
Eric,
in
do
May.
you see a
That
role
will
that
calm.
the head teachers are playing in all this nonsense?
Telling you.
I mean, I have to ask the question.
In fact, close the schools early because to calm the unrest.
Hakuna. It's not just, I keep telling you guys, it's not just the students. It is not. Now see. Did they come and tell you that they don't want to do exam in March?
So the students have unrest in November because of an exam
in March, April next year.
And so you postpone.
And so let's postpone it by 2 months.
And then not only that, let's close
the schools early. So Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here for more coming up. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. 3 of the 4 people stranded in the Abimbo gold mine in Tinge County have been rescued. The 3 were rescued following an operation carried out by residents in collaboration with the Red Cross Society and government agencies. The 3 were rushed to Bondo Hospital for treatment while the search for the 4th person continues. So far, only 1 person has been confirmed dead as a result of the tragedy. A total of 8 people were stranded while 6 people have been rescued alive so far. The Ministry of Health insists that COVID-19 vaccination remains voluntary despite an earlier directive that only those who are fully vaccinated will receive access to public services. This comes after Kenya received 4.6 million doses of the AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines from the governments of Argentina and Germany that is set to boost the country's COVID-19 vaccination drive. The December 21st deadline is fast approaching, a date when the ministry is set to make true its claims of denying persons not fully vaccinating any access to public services. According to CS Kagwe, the ministry's decision does not in any way indicate that vaccination is mandatory.
Let's not be the usual thing of waiting until the last minute for you to start rushing for your vaccine. We have set that deadline very clearly and a long time ago to say that if you want to get on the train, if you want to go to a restaurant, if you want to go to a government office, if you want to get onto a plane, if you want to leave Kenya, you will have to be vaccinated. If you don't want to be vaccinated, that's fine with us. So you'll be free to operate in a manner that you can. I'm sure you'll be quite creative in doing so, but we cannot risk other Kenyans because of the fact that 1 or 2 people do not wish to be vaccinated.
German ambassador to Kenya, Annette Gunther, urged Kenyans to go get vaccinated as the country continues to put in place measures to boost the fight against COVID-19.
No one is safe until everyone is safe, and that's why we regard it as our responsibility to contribute and to help our partners worldwide.
Newswire and the Standard Group media continues to ask you to get out there, get vaccinated so that together we may win the fight against COVID-19. Now, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission will next week start issuing certificates to political parties whose nomination rules meet the requirements of Section 27 of the Elections Act. Chairperson Ofule Chebukati says the commission has received the revised nomination rules from 89 political parties and are currently reviewing the documentations. IEBC has again warned politicians against early campaigns, further urging them to only hold campaigns once they have been allowed to do so.
Mission flagged out areas which we feel require amendment arising from post-election evaluation and especially the 2017 elections. But those are areas we are looking at to harmonize certain timelines and also to look at areas that can improve our election process come next year.
Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i has called on Kenyans to find better ways of resolving conflicts. While commenting on the case that involved an officer attached in Kabete who killed 6 people before taking his own life, the CS linked the Kabete shooting incident to a love triangle. He revealed that the matter is being probed by the DCI Internal Affairs in collaboration with the National Police Service.
We are investigating the matter. It's so painful to see how some of us trivialize a serious issue like that. They drag Porocho in politics. They go on social media. They want to score points. They want to spin rumors and all manner of nonsense. And yet we have a grave issue before us, calling the Inspector General names, insulting everybody, the CS and all that. That is not the way to solve our problems. The way to resolve this is to come together and work together.
Police Constable Benson Imbatu killed his wife and 6 others before shooting himself. 2 other people escaped with gunshot wounds. The preparations for the climax of the Azimio la Umoja initiative, spearheaded by ODM Chief Raila Odinga at Kasarani, are in top gear. ODM Jubilee MPs toured Kasarani Stadium, with the organizing team saying the stadium is ready for the event with 60,000 people expected to attend. Minority Whip Junaid Mohammed, leading the technical team, said enough measures have been put in place to ensure strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to announce his presidential bid ahead of next year's general elections.
And we know that we are expecting here 60,000 people. We hope there will not be more than 60 because this stadium can only carry 60,000 people.
It is going to be locked out of Kasarani. Hata wakijaa watakaa kule nje, hatuna maneno. So many people wanauliza tutapewa kadi. Hakuna kadi.
Tumealika wabunge zaidi ya 200. Tumealika gavana zaidi ya 40 na kufikia leo gavana zaidi ya 30 wameconfirm.
And on Friday we expect you to leave anything you are doing as we'll be rewriting history. Come and attest how hope will be rekindled in the nation.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
A few minutes after 7 o'clock, and now we're looking at traffic has built up in most parts of the city. Mombasa Road and that entire circuit, as you're trying to get out into the city, very, very slow this morning. As you get to Cabanas, heading out towards Airport North, that's when it has built up quite significantly. So, and Mbakasi, Imara in and outbound, we have that problem. Going past Mbakasi and then out towards the Eastern Bypass, that is already getting clogged up. Jogo Road as well, that entire industrial area circuit, there we have an issue. Langata Road, very, very slow, then going towards the Wilson Airport and then out towards the Timor roundabout. Uhuru Highway then, from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, out into the city. Beyond that, going towards Westlands, that is packed. It looks like folks are waiting for 7 o'clock to all leave, and here we are. Everybody getting into the CBD this morning at a snail's pace. It's moving very slowly. And then you're going to open your eyes on the Thika Superhighway and boom, more traffic than you had expected before. Quite some of that. And it's spilling over from Outer Ring as well. We're in traffic hour even earlier than we normally are. Let's have a look at things and see where they keep us this morning. Talk to us on SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
It's 7 minutes after
Room.
7. Oh, no,
The
it's 8
only
minutes
way
after
to
7 now. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the second hour of our show. This morning, we are live on SpiceFM around the country and live streaming the show to the world. Let's begin the hour with the day's proverb. City Muga.
Arusi usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe, utalipa.
Arusi. The H is silent.
Baba, get the meaning. Arusi. Focus on the important things. Focus, Eric. Focus.
Sawa. Sawa. Ama utanipeleka Septal.
Septal is where you're headed to.
Harusi usioalikwa.
Ukivunja kikombe. Talipa.
Utalipa.
Even the U is silent. Talipa.
Wewe talipa.
Wewe talipa.
Yeah, it's a good one. In English, please.
Translated directly, if you're not invited to a wedding and you inadvertently break a cup, or you break a cup, or the breakage of a cup is attributed to you, you will pay. But the simple meaning is that mistakes need to be rectified.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Or keep off. Places
When you're not invited, please, it isn't a mistake. They don't want you there. Okay? Yeah, because when, we forgot. Other people were invited. How come they were not forgotten?
It was deliberate.
Yes, or in the pecking order, you, unfortunately, are not significant.
You're
that
not
is
number
why
375.
People don't go around forgetting significant things. They rarely do. Very rarely. They do, but very rarely. When you are forgotten, please get the message. You are not significant. If
Know
there's an
your
invitation, you are not wanted.
Wow. Know your place.
Get it.
Wow. Let's welcome our guest into the studio this hour. Our guest is a young man who wants to be the next Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North Constituency, Elijah Owenga. Good morning, Elijah.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Ndu. And good morning, City Muga. I'm very happy to be in the Situation Room this morning.
Good morning. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu sana, that's a hot seat.
A very hot seat.
And we like talking about the work of our leaders. You're a politician. You want to be a Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North Constituency. You'll be telling us all about that. But first, let's get to understand who is Elijah Owenga.
Eric, I'd like first to thank the Situation Room, City Muga, Ndu Okoh, and Eric. You guys are doing an awesome job. You are elevating conversations across this country. And I would like, on behalf of Kenyans, to really thank you. Elijah is a passionate Kenyan who has decided to exert himself in the conversations around this country because they are needed. We need to tilt conversations from the selfish I, and look at a more comprehensive picture for this nation. And that's why I'm heading to Parliament to spice it up. As you spice it up down here, I'll spice it up there. Let's do this together. Let's make it teamwork.
So what have you been doing prior to this declaration?
Elijah is an entrepreneur. I wear many hats. I'm a farmer. I farm and export herbs and basil. I run a consultancy firm. I'm engaged in training, and through that I work a lot with young people, getting them out of hopelessness and joblessness into some meaningful work. I also used to run a special needs school as part of my while living in the UK. I interacted very closely with special needs children, and I came back and set up a Heaven Cottage, which was then a special needs facility, because honestly, there are very few facilities for special needs children in this country, and that I did as a CSR for myself and my family. Yeah.
Why are you talking about it in past tense?
When COVID hit, I took it a bit slowly, because some of our kids with, let's for instance say cerebral palsy, they have very weak immune system. So I decided to watch it out, and I wouldn't want to lose even one child. So in due time, once this situation is settled, I would like to get back into it, and maybe in a much bigger way as an MP, and spread it across the constituency.
You mentioned that you are in the business of uplifting the livelihoods of young people and getting them out of this quagmire and vortex of hopelessness.
Yes.
How exactly do you do this?
I've quickly realized that, Kenyans are extremely intelligent people. Having traveled a bit, Kenyans stand out. We are very aware, we are very informed, we are very knowledgeable, but what we lack is opportunities. So as an individual, I've been doing it at a small scale. I work with young people who are artistic. I've worked with a group of young people in Kibera and in Dagoretti North. Kibera, Nairobi, Ngoma, Dagoretti North, many spread groups, getting them into art, getting them into woodwork, getting them into weaving, into work with women, getting them into beadwork, because our way out of poverty is through skills. I know universities have their place, but I think we've overdone universities, Bwana Muga. I think it's time we get back into sports, arts, theatre, culture, and skills. And that's my proposition for Dagoretti North. I would like us to get out of the quagmire, which is more and more degrees, which ends up with more and more brown envelopes on our street and very little, solution to the problems.
What do you think has been the problem with past and current leadership in this particular area that you're hoping to prevent or present a solution to? What has gone wrong?
I think the last parliament has simply been an embarrassment. And I say this with a lot of humility. It's almost everyone was compliant. I mean, even the young people we sent to parliament, no credible, robust bill came out of it. So it's almost as if we get into parliament and there's a serum you're injected, means you become compliant. And I would like maybe to if Dagoretti North voters are listening this morning, I want you to send me to parliament to cause some good trouble, to really, I feel like the main issues of the day don't get to the table.
Okay, now, you've actually just opened the door and we're going to help you walk right through it.
I know you know how to do that, City.
It is true something happens when people get to parliament. But what we don't know is the antidote. You see, you keep saying, and you've said it repeatedly, it's like you're injected with something. Something definitely happens. There is a transformation. In fact, in some people, it's a transfiguration. It's not even a transformation. Okay? Let me put it out there that there is no guarantee that you will be different. True. Unless you are going to tell us how you will be different.
Good point, City. But I would also like to counter that by saying, I think when you focus on what, and standing for elective positions is not easy. You give up a lot of comfort. You give up a lot of privacy. So it's not something anyone should be doing, for the sake of it. Secondly, I would like to propose that we only become complacent when we lose focus. I mean, our roads are bad. Our people, our young men are in drugs and crime. There is insecurity. Like today, you've just been sharing the story of a police officer. There are mental health issues to be dealt with. So this country actually needs patriots in parliament. And across Kenya, if you're listening, guys, help us choose credible leaders. And Muga is asking, how do you know that? I think look at someone's history. What has he been doing? The question Eric asked earlier. Where has somebody been? Where is his heart? So once we answer those questions, we cannot fully be sure. But then we start, look at the past elections. The kind of people we've elected for governor and some positions leave little to be desired of our voters also. So it is a balancing act between the voter and those who want to be elected for people to almost sign a pact of patriotism, as we head into these elections. Yeah.
I hear also the call has been, and I say the call must be, that these things as you say them, it's great and it's inspiring.
Yep.
One thing that you would want to do in Dagoretti, for example, one thing that you would like to change, and how you're going to bring that into place.
The major issue in Dagoretti North is we have a bursting population of young energy with very little outlet, and that is a good thing and a very bad thing. It's almost like a tsunami if not handled well, but it's like water you can channel for hydropower if you handle it well, if you get the analogy. We need to really craft a way out of poverty, and that can only be done when young men and women are channeled in a way to identify their skill and create opportunity for that skill to be expressed in a meaningful manner. So if you, for instance, turned Dagoretti North into an economic empowerment hub, and that's what I've been doing at a small scale. Now for me, it's to expand that which I've been doing. Maybe the next interview can be on location, where I can show some of the things I've been working on and expand this and have different hubs here and there. Number two, Dagoretti North has no stadium. So imagine all this energy with nowhere to take it. And remember I said, the way out of poverty for Kenya is not in more universities. We must invest in skill, sports, theatre and entertainment.
How?
And for me, for
Specifically
instance...
now for you, Dagoretti North, how? I mean, just give us examples of, so in this particular area, I want to put up what? A stadium in this place, or the skilling places. Where is this skill going to be acquired? Where is it going to be utilized? Give us the practicals of what exactly you want to do.
Number one, I have a very robust manifesto, which I will kindly share with all of you. It has a credible plan and an outline on how to run everything I propose. So I'm already identifying, for instance, currently, I'm running an ICT program. So every 2 weeks, 30 young men and women are getting trained on transcribing, on video editing, on article writing, and most of these jobs are then online. So I have a team of 4 young men who are very good on ICT skills, who are training them, and after 2 weeks, the very best ones can then employ that skill in a meaningful way to start earning some income. I'm going to do that with wood. For instance, Kenya, we import a lot of furniture, yet we have young men and women who could be trained to produce furniture at a quality that is even now we start exporting. Look at the idea of around getting them into skills like videography and photography and skills like, and you know, this can take in so many people. Look at, for instance, just training young men and women in landscaping and proper, excellent skills around that. And then they can be utilized by the county governments, dress them up, brand them, because it's one idea to have a skill. It's another idea to brand that skill. Like our Juakali sector is among the best in the world, but we are extremely shoddy at branding ourselves. So most of those things remain in Gikomba when they should be in Finland, in Sweden, in being utilized and patented. So we need to create innovation hubs, not just in Dagoretti North, but across this nation, because it is a pandemic. We keep talking about COVID, but the bigger pandemic, Eric, is that we have millions and millions of young people in our villages, in our constituencies, with no hope and no credible plan by the government to get them out of that hopelessness. So I'll use the Dagoretti North as a prototype and then create and craft a bill that I then push to Parliament of SGR proportions, pushing the government to put money in credible economic empowerment model that triggers conversations around innovation, around creativity, around scale.
Elijah, you've mentioned innovation hubs a number of times.
Yes.
Now, paint for us a picture of an innovation hub that you want to set up in Dagoretti North. What it looks like, who it brings on board, and how it benefits the people.
So an innovation hub is a center where young men and women are who would like to employ their hands in a skill come on board, and there are many different experts in different fields. For instance, let's say someone has an idea they want to explore. They then have a team there who they discuss with, and they're given, the few things they need to transform their skill into something meaningful. For instance, I'm working with a young man called Humphrey. He has come up with some amazing thing, and all he needed from me was 3,000 shillings. I'm already talking to him how we can make that thing a little bit more branded to start saying where we could send it. And I think it's a magical light here and there which hotel industry could probably use. So I'm already doing these things at a personal level, but I would like, as a head to Parliament, to transform Dagoretti North in a way it becomes like a role model to other constituencies by inviting as many people. Even a radio station, I'm thinking of a radio station where the things that we are doing across the constituency are then shared online, and more facilitators come on board. Eric, you could come in one time, speak to young people who are interested in radio, and we do this thing together. And maybe other constituencies can then borrow the idea of an innovation hub that cuts across cleaning skill. Cleaning is cleaning, but excellent cleaning will be identifiable. I could end up supplying the whole of Nairobi with the best cleaners and nannies just because I took time to train them, to help them communicate their skill, to teach them respect, to teach them how to hygiene skills, to brand them in excellent clothing and send them out to clean Nairobi.
Elijah, you know what I hear you saying?
Yes, sir.
That you want to turn Dagoretti North into a blue-collar training hub where all the people who will be doing domestic work, all those who will be doing manual labor, and who have acquired some skill will come from. And yet, Dagoretti North, where does it begin? Where does it end? Let's start there.
Dagoretti North has 5 wards. So begins from Uhuru Park up State House. You go towards Ngong Road. You go down Naivasha Road. You come back into Kawangware, Kabiro, Gatina, almost towards Wayaki, that side. It curves.
Yes, and in between, what do you have?
You have 2 extreme sides. You have a very affluent side, and then you have an extremely disadvantaged side. 3 wards, Gatina, Kabiro, and Kawangware, are quite disadvantaged. Then you have 2 wards, Kilimani and Kileleshwa, which are quite affluent.
Right. Now tell me, when people campaign and talk about Dagoretti North, they only seem to be talking about the disadvantaged part of Dagoretti North. Is that not so?
If you listen to me carefully, I'm creating a skill from this side to support this other side.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're talking about a possibility, but if you were talking about creating a skill, we would have heard how you expect to bring in this so-called affluent relatives of this particular constituency into this conversation about how they can help with your vision for the part of this particular constituency who are disadvantaged.
Bonamoga, you are very right. Once you create a skill set, the consumption then in my constituency is then Kilimani, Kileleshwa. That's the consumption side. And I know we struggle with certain, the roads are, especially when it's rain, the drainage systems and all this. So we would like to utilize the skills available in the other parts of the constituency to support the whole. I'm even planning, like in Rwanda style, a monthly cleanup ward by ward, because honestly, we cannot have so many young people in our streets and don't think of or even dream. So allow me dream, Muga, and dream wildly, because I've dreamt before and things have happened. As a student leader at Baraton University, I started a Somesha Fund, which until today has really supported a number of young people. And when I started, it looked like, it was impossible to do it. So some of these things, you start with a dream and really be confident about your dream, and you'll carry people along with you. You'll find international donors coming in to support some of these programs, because the CDF kitty, sometimes it's not enough to run all of these things that we are talking about.
Actually, what I'm talking about is utilizing a resource that already exists.
Yes.
There are 149,000 voters in your... Yes, now, the percentage of voters who come from Kilimani and Lavington are not even a third of the voter population in your constituency.
I would like to disabuse that. There are so many, only that they don't get out to vote.
No. Actually, there are not that many. Because, statistically speaking, the largest population of inhabitants in this country tend to live in either settlements that are not formal, or they live in what one may derogatorily refer to as low-rent districts. That's where the majority of the people live. Because if you look, say, for instance, at a plot, 50 by 50, 50 by 80 plot, where some people put up a block of flats, you'll find maybe 4 stories, families, people living there. Now, in the affluent areas, that 3 times that size of plot, you'll have 1 family living in it.
3 times that. My friend, Kilimani, have you seen Kilimani of late? It's going 20 floors up.
I have.
Maybe what we should be asking is, from the census, because we have got statistics, from the census of 2019, what was the population, the total population of Dagoretti North constituency, and then ward by ward? Is what Muga is saying statistically factual from the 2019 census?
In fact, the highest number of voters, you'll be surprised, is from Kilimani Ward in Dagoretti North. It's from Kilimani Ward. The only thing that comes into play is that some of these voters are actually from the other. It's gerrymandering, you know. People have been brought this side to vote.
People don't live in Kilimani,
yes,
but they vote in Kilimani.
Yes, but you also find that there are a lot of votes because the middle class conundrum is, you know, how will this election help me? There's a lot of laissez-faire attitude from the middle class in this country, and that's why we're in a mess. You know, in other countries, the middle class is a buffer between the very wealthy and the very poor. And like the US politics is more a middle class politics. So it's not so stretched on either side of the divide. But in our country, it's almost as if the middle class has pulled itself out of the conversation totally. And that's why you find a lot of politicians. Our middle class is known to tweet and twerk, unfortunately. There is very little conversation from that area, unless City Muga tells me different.
Well, it's not supported by what you've just said. Kilimani has the highest number of voters in Dagoretti North.
But I already
qualified
it that most of those voters are from.
How many are from outside?
It's difficult to tell. You know why? You are a registered voter in that particular constituency.
Yes.
So where you vote, you're voting within your constituency.
Yeah, which is why I'm trying to push back on what Elijah is telling us, that many of those voters are from imported. Maybe they're not. Maybe there are people who don't necessarily live there, but they work there on a daily basis. If I've got my office in Kilimani, I want to also participate in what happens in Kilimani.
Even more interestingly, I may even have moved from Kilimani and I once lived there, but that's where I registered.
But I still
so that's where I'm going to go
I'm still voting there.
Yeah, most voters in Kilimani are from the other three wards, Gatina, Kabiru, and Kawangware. That is a fact which I think IEBC can confirm to you.
Okay. But they're all Dagoretti North then?
Yes,
voters.
they are all Dagoretti North.
Okay.
So the affluent side, there's a lot of gerrymandering, like I've said. They move this side to maybe support a certain candidate. So, yeah, that's what happens.
You know, I brought up the issue.
Yes.
If you mentioned the U.S., what you're saying in terms of the people you hear of and the body from where you get political or leaders or wannabe leaders, yes, it's from that middle class. But if you look at the election in the U.S., even from the time of Barack Obama, the blue-collar worker, who is not necessarily a middle class, if his middle class is lower middle, has been the key influencing factor in the outcome of those elections. And those who have ignored that particular vote, what do you think Trump did? Trump appealed to that particular voter. And that voter was always there, the voter didn't vote. And then something else happened in the US. Black voters who didn't necessarily go out to vote, in certain states where it was assumed certain candidates from certain parties would win, the change was because suddenly they started voting. Now, if we look at the number of voters in Dagoretti North, but I also vote in Dagoretti North, just so that you understand.
Thank you, Muga. Yeah. Are you confirming a vote for me this morning?
No, I'm not. I am waiting for you to convince me that you will be the right candidate.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But that we are talking means we're on the right path.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is this. When you start with the population of those who voted, in my mind, I ought to be looking at how many eligible voters do we actually have.
Yeah.
And how many more can we get to actually vote? Because the ones who are there are probably already there and they already decided as to the direction they're going to take.
Okay.
Because the party you want to stand with is not the only party that's going to be there. The other parties will be represented.
Yep.
How do you get these others? Now, when you look at those numbers, then you're talking about real politics, because that's where the change comes in. Because let's say, for instance, hypothetically speaking, that you find that you have another 80,000 who could actually vote. It's a game changer.
Yes, it is.
If those people actually then register, you have a completely different story that you'll be telling with regards to the outcome of an election in your ward. In your constituency.
On that note, let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation with Elijah Owenga. He's an aspirant for Dagoretti North constituency. He wants to be the next MP of Dagoretti North, and he's telling us what he hopes to do if elected by the people of Dagoretti North. That's what we are discussing. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We'll be back shortly.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Bro, na si watu wamejenga manyumba area. Kwanza angalia ile. Are you seeing that roof? That color? Sio ni nyumba mpya?
That's not a new house, bro. That's a Covermax roof.
Covermax?
Covermax. It's more than just a roof. It's color that lasts. Ukiweka, umeweka.
So whose new house is that anyway? Really nice.
Niangu.
How's that possible?
Good choice from me. Covermax didn't let me down. It's good to have a long-lasting roof when you have a family, you know?
Covermax roofing sheets with advanced color coating technology. A quality product from Mabati Rolling Mills.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog.
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort.
The weather with Spice FM.
Looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15. Looking out into Nakuru Nakuru city this morning, cloudy conditions, a chance of rain later, going into highs of 22. Out in Eldoret, cloudy conditions as well, going to highs of 26. We'll see cloudy conditions this morning as well in Nyeri town, going to highs of 21 today. Looking into Mombasa, light rain in some parts, highs of 29. Malindi also will see highs of 29 this morning. In Kisumu, rain has started early, will come to highs of 29. And in Kakamega, we'll see highs of 28 this morning as well. Looking out into Kampala, cloudy situations. It's a bit of a drizzle in Dar es Salaam as well, going to highs of 32. And we'll see those cloudy and rainy conditions in Johannesburg this morning at 16. Lagos, still clear at this point. We'll go to highs of 34 today. And in Kinshasa, highs of 33. Cloudy conditions, a chance of rain later. All right, still continues on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Quite hot and heavy trying to get into the CBD. Very, very slow. And in the CBD, speaking of, quite a lot of traffic. Haile Selassie is taking a hit coming in from Uhuru Highway, also in Gong Road, also on the other end of things coming in from the Kamkunji roundabout. So that's packed. Langata Road also. We're still seeing a lot of traffic there. And Gong Road, all the way to the City Mortuary roundabouts. Coming off Raila Odinga Way, not much traffic there this morning. The CBD is where we see the most action today, as well as the Thika Superhighway, which is feeding off from Outering. Limuru Road, quite hot and heavy, getting towards Wangari Maathai and then out towards the city, taking on a lot of traffic from Parklands as well. All right, what else are we looking at? That Southern Bypass, still an issue. Don't forget that as you're coming out of Westlands, use the Red Hill Link Road. Take you into the city much quicker. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Let's text on 40127.
www.showmax.com. Have you tried out the 14-day free trial of Showmax and get access to all the good programming, your favorite shows, series, movies, kids programming, and sports as well, and news. Now, there's an issue that comes with when people start thinking of streaming, and this is about data usage. So if I'm streaming this thing on my mobile device,
how much data is it going to chop?
How much of my data is it? You can actually keep your data in check by choosing 3 streaming qualities to control how much data you use. If you can use the maximum, it gives you unlimited data access. Medium, up to 700 MB per hour data usage, and minimum is up to 100 MB per hour data usage. So you choose the quality. Still very good quality, even with minimum. You're using much less data and you're good. Or if you're feeling, all right, I'm at home and we're using the unlimited data, just choose the maximum. Enjoy. This is it. www.showmax.com.
up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
21 minutes to 8. The conversation continues in the Situation Room. Today is Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and Elijah Owenga. He is a MP aspirant for Dagoretti North Constituency. Elijah, let's talk numbers now. That's what we're discussing just as we went to the break. The number of registered voters in Dagoretti North Constituency, the number of eligible voters in Dagoretti North Constituency. And let's look at the numbers so far, those that have been registered since 2017. Let's start with how many voted in Dagoretti North in 2017?
In the last election, the number of registered voters was about 147,000. This new voter registration exercise was marked by a very low turnout, and I'm getting the numbers that the new voters came in were about only 5,000. And, I would like to encourage anyone listening out there, if you're in Dagoretti North and you haven't yet registered to be a voter, kindly get out there. The IBC exercise is still ongoing and get yourself registered.
Of the 147,000 who were registered to vote, how many actually turned up to vote?
That was about 84,000 that turned out to vote. And you can see that was about almost... just about half, above half, yes.
About 60%
yeah.
of the registered voters.
Yes.
Why do you think 40% did not turn up to vote?
This is a nationwide issue. There is a voter lethargy. People are tired. Every time they vote, they see very little outcome for their vote. So because 2007 they voted and there was very little outcome. 2013, vote again. And, politicians trade on hope, like opium, just like pastors trade on hope. Everyone is trading on hope in this country, yet they deliver very little. So you cannot, on one side, blame the voter. But again, the voter, you look yourself in the mirror. You are the one who chooses these same people who trade on hope. So it's a catch-22 situation. On one side, we elect leaders who do very little. And then they create voter apathy over time because very little to show for the vote.
But do you think that there has been this conversation or an adequate conversation about the outcomes of not voting? Because when you don't vote, you're also voting in the very people you probably don't want.
There's a gap on civic education, Muga. People, there needs to be a lot of civic education because there are countries like Singapore, because of a vote, transformed the whole nation incredibly. So we need to keep looking out for good leaders. But again, the idea of the handout, people come, they trade on hope, give handouts. So these conversations are not had adequately because there is an incentive that is, which then blocks the actual conversation from taking place.
But Elijah, we actually don't have any statistical evidence that shows that money dished out actually determines outcomes to a significant degree. There are cases where you'll be told so-and-so outspent the other person. But there are other things that were actually inherent in that situation that are not brought out. The money played a part, yes. But it isn't the only thing that played a part. So handouts, yes, people receive them with gusto. It's like, look at the crowds that come for rallies. All right? Just look at those crowds.
Yeah.
If you assume that they represent actual live voters who have an ID and a card and can vote, then it's a game changer. But do you know what percentage of the people you actually see there, how many of them actually, let's not even talk about whether they have a card or not, how many of them actually vote?
I would like to also mention, Bonamoga, that voters today, you have to pay a listening tax. They have almost resigned themselves to fate that, okay, these politicians just show up, lie to us, and that's what I'm going against the tide, because I'm trying to tell them, listen, there is actually reason to vote a good leader, because it can really be the difference between you acquiring a skill and you being simply a bridge for them to cross over. And yeah,
Elijah, at this point, you're in a very difficult position.
Yeah, I know that.
Because historically, certain things have happened in a certain way.
Yes.
Promises have been made to Kenyans. Things have been told them that would happen if a certain individual took up a particular position. Unfortunately, in the majority of these cases, these things did not happen. Enter such an individual as yourself and others around the country who are then hoping for a vote in the near future. So, in as much as you're trying to convince Kenyans of what you will do, you must also convince them that taking this position will be different in terms of results from what they have seen before. So you're trying to undo a truth, a reality for them in their minds, while trying to convince them that you are the person who is going to bring about change. So it's very difficult for you where you stand today because you have two jobs to do at the same time.
Very, very true, Ndu. And it's not just me. I'm not here to be very selfish and say it's me who will do all this. No. I'm telling Kenyans, wherever you are, there are good leaders out there. You just don't give them a chance. Listen and weigh the leaders who come your way, whether you're in Lekichogi or whether you're in Lodwar, whether you're in Taita, whether you're in Dagoretti North. Listen to everybody. Where have they been? What do they do? Where is their heart? Where is their mind? Do this sifting because Kenya needs a different kind of... Look at all the youthful MPs who were elected last time. I'm not here to rate them, but I can say for sure, the SGR, I have no problem with the SGR. It's taken a lot of money that, in my opinion, if I were in that parliament, I would have... requested that that money is put to different use, and then from the tax you see, if we put money in our young people, then help them create commercial entities, make the way entry. Like right now, a young guy, 18, 20, faces the same hurdles as a 60-year-old experienced businessman trying to get into business. It is awkward. It is an absurdity. It is obscene.
It should be easier, right?
It's a reality.
It's obscene. So it should be much easier. We need to borrow from other countries that have really brought in a lot of people. If entrepreneurship has to be a reality,
business is difficult. Anyone talking and saying it is easy, the things you speak about, they are all true. A youth fund, Uwezo fund, all these things. This government that we have here, do you know some of these things that we speak of? You talk about the framework, the structure, they actually exist.
Yes, on paper. We
actually,
have them
no,
on paper.
Not just on paper.
Muga, we have them on paper.
Even money has been budgeted for and was allocated to these things. It's not just a theory. It wasn't just a story.
It doesn't start and end with money. And I think that's where the other conversation needs to begin. Before you throw money at a youth or a woman through Women Fund and Youth Fund, there's a lot more work that needs to be done in the background before you then say, here is some money to actualize your idea. You don't just find a young man who's 25, give him 100,000. I mean, that guy already has rent issues. That guy already has girlfriend issues. That money will find use outside of the intended purpose. We need to first create an environment where these young people with a skill are trained, molded, apprenticeship, and then some little money to send them on the entrepreneurial journey. You don't just say apply on paper, you receive money, and you go and be successful. It's not possible.
Like you said, there are very many other things that affect, people's livelihoods.
Yes.
Infrastructure, the costs of housing, cost of food, and these are affected by things. For example, looking at the screen that we have in the studio, you can see this is Gitanga Road, just the area around Kawangware. This road has been in the news for a number of months now. First time, there was a huge issue. It needed to be repaired. It was repaired, and then it rained, and it got back to this situation. Now, because of this, you hear people saying that you have a business in Kawangware along Gitanga Road. It costs you more to actually run your business.
Yeah, that's the main road, 46 Kawangware.
Yes.
That road has had major issues, like you say. You can see clearly, it's a beautiful road built. yet with no drainage system. So, and that's not a story just for Dagoretti North. The roads are being built across this country with no supporting amenities. You cannot build a road and not find an exit plan for the water that accumulates. So every time it rains, the water is held up and the road again needs repair. So we need our engineers at, all Kura, Kenha, and everybody. Before we build roads, like you were discussing the other day, there was no bridge built, and you saw what happened to the bus. I mean, it is a story across this country that our engineers somehow just want to be seen to tick boxes without really. I'd rather roads are done at a very good maram level with drainage, and then in the next budget, now it's tarmacked, so that there's a consequential way to do this.
What would you do about this? If you went to campaign along this road, they'll tell you, this is our problem. This is what is biting. So what would you tell the people?
Number one, I don't lie when I look for votes. So I will never say I will
repair the road,
build this road. That I will never say. But what I will say is that I will be a constant voice to the, to NMS, to Kura, to whichever entities are, in charge, to do something about it. And I'll want them to do it the right way. So I wouldn't want them to come and just repair and do a patchwork. You cannot, it's a hemorrhage, you cannot put an elastoplast on a surgery patient. So we need a proper plan around the road network and not just the patchwork that we've been saying. So as an MP, I will not allow a patchwork. I'll want the citizens to be aware that this road needs this, and this is how it should be done, and then talk to the relevant authorities. Yes.
How would you get away from the culture of things that are said that this is how we do things, or this is how things are done? We've seen, and we have very many examples of people who slip into the culture of how things are done. How would you steer away from that?
I know it's a syndrome. You don't think you'll get away from it. And I think to be honest to yourself is very, very important. To remain true to the north. You are north. Everyone has a north. Where does your compass point? You must remain true to your north. And that's where the difference between me and another MP comes into play. We are not all the same. So you need to be able to know yourself and only promise that which is achievable. And if not achievable, be honest again to say, hey, I was unable to do this because of 1, 2, 3, but the plan, or I've totally entirely given up on this plan that I had told you, this is my new plan. I think people necessarily don't misunderstand us. It is us who overpromise and deliver and try to get out of it by coming up with kizungu mingi. I think it's important to just remain true to yourself. People will value you when you just say, hey, this one I've been unable to do. What next? Do we have an option B? I think people will respect that.
Let me ask you, how many politicians have you come across who have been what you're saying one ought to be and have succeeded in politics in this country?
And maybe that's another conversation, because how do we look for those politicians? So are we looking for apples in a lemon garden? So if you want things to be done, then try get honest conversations going, credible leaders who say what they mean and mean what they say. So don't go to an apple garden trying to find lemons. If someone lies to you through the political period, how do you even trust them to deliver even one of the promise they give you? So it's a catch-22 situation, sir.
Do they really lie sometimes? Sometimes an outright, blatant, brazen lie. But sometimes if you listen to these people, they actually mean what they're saying.
They believe it.
No,
yes.
Sometimes I think like what he said, they overpromise. Yes, you believe this can be done, this can be done, this can be done, but you're leaping all of it and saying, I'm going to do all of it.
You cannot
and
do
you,
all
and you
of
definitely can't.
And you can't.
How can you promise to build a road? Do you know the budget? Do you know next year's budget? Do you know how it's going to be approved? You can only promise and say, I will do my best to talk to the relevant authorities and to be a constant pain on their neck.
So what is it that you're telling Dagoretti North residents today, or constituents today, that if given an opportunity to be their member of parliament, that you would do? What is it that you're saying? staying away from the over-promising aspect?
What I'm saying, I'm a person you can trust to take your concerns, because the number one role of an MP is to be a legislator, to represent their voice at the national level. So I will find mechanisms to get the true voice of Dagoretti North, and in its raw form, communicate that at the national level. So I want to be a true son of Dagoretti North and be a credible partner in raising your concerns at the right place.
Let's take a trip. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Number two, I also would like to say that I have looked at the problems in Dagoretti North, ranging from the road network, the drainage system, insecurity, unemployment, and I'm finding local solutions to local problems, and those that need national attention, you can trust me to raise them at the national level. Lastly, I'm saying those who are forgotten, who have no voice, I want to be your voice. The special needs children in Dagoretti North, the wajane, wamama, those widows and widowers who have the single mothers need a plan also. Actually, in Dagoretti, we have so many single mothers. It's like it's a pandemic of its own. And you imagine you're in a slum area, you're a single mother with no safety net, no cushion. I want to be able to say, and boldly so, that outside of the CDF, I want to look for international partners, friends here and there, to come up with credible projects that can give our people hope out of hopelessness. So those are things I can say I would like to do. Lastly, I would also like to promise the schools in Dagoretti North. I want us at a very early age to start libraries and ICT hubs. I want that can be done and will be done. That I'm not even promising. That I have a plan on how to do it. So we have ICT hubs that our young people can interact with technology from a very early age.
Right.
Do you believe CDF should still be maintained? That members of parliament should have access to the national government CDF?
If devolution was to work perfectly, as an MP, then we don't need CDF. But you know that devolution doesn't reach everywhere. And there are some issues that an MP faces, and the CDF kitty comes in very handy. But the day devolution works, it's clean, it's corruption-free, we will only need to channel money through the national government and through devolution. But as it now stands, I think a good MP needs a kitty to run one or two things. Like the bursary fund is, at a constituency level, you are able to pick out. For instance, my bursary proposal is to ensure that all the orphans are in the front line. And I'm also trying to say, when giving out bursary, I don't want to know your second name, because tribalism, again, is a big problem. Ukabila na umaskini are Siamese twins. So for me, I just want to know orphans, and I have a system in place where the most needy are the first in line, and then as we go down the queue.
If we take a quick trip down memory, or rather into the future, 5 years from now, and let's say that you actually did get this position, and there are certain things that you were to be granted a scorecard on, what do you think should happen if you didn't meet the declarations that you're making at this point?
That's a very good question, and I was hoping my voters can be brought online 5 years from now, and it should not be me sitting here, because I don't want to mark my own exam. That will be unfair. So maybe in 5 years you can call 1 or 2, 3 voters to discuss that. But today, I can say this. That which I will not be able to achieve, I'll be back and I'll be very honest again why I was not able to achieve it. But that which I will achieve, I'll have a website. I also want a communication system that is very open and transparent, where the constituents can interact with me constantly to rate me on an ongoing basis. I don't want for them to wait for 5 years. I want in the first 100 days, in the first 1 year, in the first 2 years, and it's a cascading effect as we move forward. But one thing I can promise, I will also be a very relevant voice for them in Parliament. I want to be remembered as causing good trouble in Parliament. There are some MPs who haven't spoken once in Parliament. I don't want to be that one. At least for that, they can be sure.
You will be a rabble rouser.
Not necessarily, but good trouble, yes.
It'll be a good conscience.
good conscience.
Good conscience.
On the floor of the House.
Thank you, Bwana Muga, for that.
Elijah Owenga, thank you very much for joining us, and wish you all the best as you go out there campaigning, convincing the people of Dagoretti North why they should elect you as their next Member of Parliament.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you very much, Ndu and City Muga. This has been such an engaging conversation. I'm hoping to come back again and again to converse with the three of you.
Be sure of that. Asante sana. Elijah Owenga wants to be the next MP for Dagoretti North. Are you a voter in this constituency in either Gatina, Gatuekera, Kawangware, Kilimani or Kileleshwa wards? Well, you'll be engaging with him and then make up your choice on this particular one. Good morning. The conversation continues into the next hour. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The prosecution in the ICC case against Kenyan lawyer Paul Gisheru has suffered a blow after the witnesses who were expected to give their testimony withdrew from the case. Gisheru is facing charges of interfering with witnesses in a case against Deputy President William Ruto in the same court. According to Deputy Chief Prosecutor Paul Stewart, the two witnesses who initially admitted bribery were ready to present their evidence in court. However, the two later refused to attend an important meeting with the ICC to plan how to present the case and later told their lawyers they were no longer willing to testify. One of the witnesses had confessed to receiving 2.5 million shillings and had been missing since 2013 before the prosecution tried to find him. The prosecution alleged that the witnesses was heavily relied on in the case against Deputy President William Ruto before being bribed with 2.5 million shillings and promised a job. In the case against Gisheru, he was also expected to substantiate allegations that the lawyer was involved in bribing witnesses. Now, no parallel celebrations will be held in the counties during this year's Jamhuri Day celebrations. According to Interior PS Karanja Kibisho, the move follows extensive consultations across government and expert advisories that such events will potentially accelerate COVID-19 infections. In addition, only 11,000 invited guests will be allowed into Uhuru Gardens during this year's celebrations. Kibisho, which has the National Celebration Committee, said 10,000 people will be on the public grounds while 1,000 will be in the dais at the venue that has undergone major renovations. He said although the participants will be more than 3 times those invited to Mashujaa Day in Wanguru Stadium in Kirinyaga County last month, concerns over COVID-19 pandemic discouraged the invitation of more people to the event. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has defended Kenyan missions abroad after a parliamentary committee called for the scaling down of the budgetary allocations. Kenya has 56 diplomatic missions abroad, 2 missions in Nairobi and 31 honorary consuls across the world. In their defense, the ministry notes that Kenya's diplomatic missions are key in enhancing Kenya's economic diplomacy, which is one of the 5 pillars of Kenya's foreign policy alongside the peace, diaspora, cultural and environmental diplomacy pillars. It adds that missions also undertake a broader function in favor of Kenya's economic competitiveness. Now, Kisii Senator Sam Ongeri is now demanding that Dagoretti South MP Simba Arati apologizes to Kisii Diocese Catholic Church of allegations that the MP was disrespecting the church. Speaking to Radio Maisha, Ongeri, who has announced his intention to run for governor of Kisii County, said Arati disrespected the church and the congregants of Nyamwanga Parish after he was allegedly denied a chance to speak. At the same time, Ongeri advised fellow politicians in the Gusii area to refrain from provocative politics and instead allow voters to make wise decisions during next year's general election.
You are not expected to create chaos or rubble in the church. And if that's what happened, and to be able to exhibit that kind of behavior, he should go and apologize. And I'm sure Bishop Mairura will be able to forgive him. We are known to be a tolerant community. We are known to be a community of peace and tranquility. And therefore, let's not see another new culture being brought into our community. It will not be acceptable. Every one of us is willing to present ourselves to the electorate. Let the people decide.
Ongeri made the remarks just days after the management of the Kisii Catholic Diocese was forced to return Arati's 100,000 shillings in donations for allegedly disrespecting the church, a move that angered the Kisii gubernatorial aspirant. Ford Kenya leaders are asking Tongaren MP Asedi Simiyu to drop running the affairs of the party with immediate effect after the party published names of its leadership in the official Kenyan Gazette, allegedly putting an end to leadership wrangles. Speaking in Trans Nzoia County, Party Secretary General Chris Wamalwa said Ford Kenya is currently preparing itself for the 2022 general elections.
Asedi Simiyu, he is no longer the Secretary General of Ford Kenya. We have now been gazetted. We are the de jure and the de facto leaders of Ford Kenya. Hila mzaha ameletea weta from today henceforth. Lazima akome. Sisi kama Ford Kenya, we are here to subscribe the rule of law. We want to ensure we are going to have free and fair nominations. We wish him well, wakwende kule na wamunyinyi. Watu waje sisi na chama, kama ni kotini, tutakutana kotini. Lakini wameannounce kwenda, waende salama salimini.
Kwanza Member of Parliament Ferdinand Wanyonyi has wished Aseli well as he plans to leave Ford Kenya.
Wale rebels, nataka niambie ndugu yangu Iseli ya kwamba there's no time for him anymore. Hiyo mambo iliisha. This party has been gazetted. Akitaka amese wembe. The party is strong, is intact. The organs of the party has been reformed. We have everything to be proud of. Usiche ukafikiri sasa utapewa free ticket. Come and compete with whoever is there.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
All right, a wet situation in certain parts of Nairobi this morning, and we're looking at traffic on Mombasa Road, heading out in both directions, in and outbound. That Imara Daima stretch now is going all the way past Cabanas and then towards that airport junction. So there's a traffic inbound that's really slow today. And now the Likoni interchange that connects to the southern bypass also is clogging up quite some. Wow. All right. So you close your eyes and open up. And after 2 minutes, things have clogged up significantly. Looking a little bit better on Langata Road, but there's still a lot of traffic as you get towards the Wilson Airport and then out towards the Timor roundabout. Raila Odinga Way is jam-packed and is connecting with Gong Road this morning. And we're looking at industrial area with quite some traffic today. Uhuru Highway through to Westlands is a thing. Kiambu Road, Thika Superhighway, Limuru Road. Everywhere you look, really, around the city. A lot of traffic this morning is to be expected at this time. We are hopeful that it will not get crazier than this. Should it happen in your neck of the woods, do let us know on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Habari za asubuhi, hujambo popote ulipo. It's 8 minutes after 8 on the 8th day of December 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the third hour. We're live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home and online. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. CT Muga has the day's proverb.
I do. Harusi usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe utalipa.
Yeah. Again, harusi
usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe utalipa. The assumption here is that hukualikwa na ulienda.
A wedding to which you haven't been invited. If you break a cup, you shall pay. You will be surcharged. You're an invited guest.
The assumption is that if you are an invited guest, then you can break whatever you please.
Well, they'll excuse you here and there. Say, these are things that happen. No, it's probably because whatever reason will be given. Let's continue with the conversation. In the last hour, we were talking to a young man who wants to be the MP for Dagoretti North. This time, let's talk to a man who wants to be the President of the Republic of Kenya. And this is the Governor of Makueni County, the Honorable His Excellency Kivutha Kibwana. He joins us via video link from Wote in Makueni. Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning, Kenya.
It's good to have you again on the show. We were hoping to have you in the studio, but we understand that you have a function today with the County Assembly.
That's correct. I have my State of County address today.
Your Excellency, first of all, congratulations for hosting a wonderful devolution conference. As you know, I attended. I was there. I saw it in person. And also I saw the beautiful Wote town. Lovely place there.
Thank you very much. Yes, because of devolution, many towns are growing in the entire country, and Wote is no exception. We are very proud of that.
We also understand that you got bereaved recently. Allow us to pass our condolences to you and your family.
Thank you very much. Yes, I lost my cousin and my aunt same week, and so it was a heavy week.
Now, on to the conversation. Your Excellency, 2 days ago, you tweeted on your Twitter handle, which is at Governor Kibwana, and this is what you said, that, I'm just getting it. It is said that the 2022 general election is a two-horse race, Raila Ruto, with an Oka mule and several donkeys on the track. As a presidential aspirant, I accept the tag of a donkey. Jesus Christ, the ultimate servant leader, rode on a donkey to face his epoch trial. Kenyans, I beseech you to campaign for me by word of mouth. I believe we can redeem Kenya from endemic corruption, tribalism, impunity, youth neglect, underdevelopment, poverty, etc. I lack billions for the campaign, but you're able to raise resources for the change that we deserve. This is what you tweeted, and I looked at it, and in fact, we all looked at it and thought, wait, you mean Governor Kibwana is still in the race?
Governor Kibwana has been on the race. I got unwell. Actually, I was out of town for about 3-4 months after I had an operation. And so some of the impetus that we had created got somewhat lost. And of course, the presidential bid is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And therefore, even my party, where now I'm party leader, Muungano Party, was able to give me the position of vying for presidential candidate, subject, of course, to the NDC, which will meet in January, so that it is able to deliberate on that. And if, of course, there is no other candidate, then they will be able to say that I have space within it. So, and you may remember very recently, the former Michael, the former in charge of KRA, saying that there are all these people, yes, but if the country wants a Kibaki, they can find him in Kibwana. Karuti Kanyinga and others who have been writing, William Mutunga and so on, they all say that is somebody who could be a president of the country and really cause major change, just like we have in our small way tried to do in Makueni. But of course, I do realize that one needs money, and it's not little money. And as a result, one has to make provision for that. And if, for example, like Obama did, people are able to contribute $5, $10, because in that country, they have a maximum of what you can contribute to an election bid as a supporter. So if, as we go on, we are able to crowdfund from Kenyans, then we will be doing very well. And so I'm really persuaded that as a president of this country, I would really help my country people, and we would make a good mark on the continent.
Governor, even as we hear the different, every time we are asked about, development matters and who's been able to do what in the country, we never, we rarely miss to hear the name of Makwene County come in. I'm just going to give a few examples. When we talk about UHC and the 4 pilot counties of Kisumu, Isiolo, Nyeri, and Machakos that were used, Makwene went ahead and mirrored this and was able to then implement some of these things already. We have the health sector that's booming in the county. Under your leadership, so many things have happened. We've heard stories of how you yourself visit county hospitals because they're up to scratch and you're able to use them as an individual. The whole story of you being a disruptor where you said, all right, everybody, let's disband this whole thing. Let's vote again. People still voted you back in. Your county is being used as an example around the country. Every time it comes up, do you think this is enough to extrapolate to the national level and have you then, as president of the entire country, based on what you've done at the county?
Leadership in the county consists of work which is 1/47. Because we have 47 counties. And so a county, of course, is a small place compared to the entire country. But the principles of leadership that you use to run a county can be extrapolated to the national level. For example, if you really respect people, if you acknowledge their dignity, if you accept their voice, if you are ready to be criticized by them when they are not, you're not doing well, if you promote integrity within yourself as the leader, so that integrity is promoted from above, and you try to make sure that many of your people also follow that. It is really the same principles that are used, and of course, because I have in the past. There was a time I led the pro-democracy movement in Kenya in the 80s and 90s, particularly in the 90s, and was an integral part of helping to birth the Constitution. In actual fact, people who have read what I wrote as a lecturer will find that a lot of the ideas that came into the Constitution, I was one of the persons with Willie and so on. But of course, I must recognize that another very powerful force also behind that constitution was Honorable Raila Odinga, the enjoyers, those civil society people. So I was able to be part of constructing what now we say is devolution and knowing how the constitution can really be implemented, because that's one big deficit in terms of implementing the constitution and implementing rule of law. And there were times I was asked to be a compromised presidential candidate in 1997, but I said my duty was to work on the constitution. I didn't want to get into politics then. And of course, I was a minister. And there's one thing that many Kenyans don't know, that, and I don't like talking too much about myself and praising myself, and all the things we have done is to the glory of God. But there was a time I was a double minister for environment and natural resources, as well as lands, for 17 months. I would work during the day in one ministry and a bit of the night in the other ministry, and interchange that. And so, including being president of the Climate Change Convention and other conventions worldwide and meeting many leaders. So I am clear in my mind. I have what it takes to be a president of this country and to help in terms of taking our country forward. But this matter is a matter left to God and the people.
Senator, Your Excellency, there's something about you that is uniquely outstanding. If we had to look at your track record, you're talking about in academia, you're talking about in policy influencing and making, talking about your involvement in bringing about lasting change and in birthing the new constitution. The record is second to none. And if one was simply to go by those standards, you'd be the perfect candidate for the presidency. However, there's one little element about politics and gunning for a seat such as the presidency. It is putting yourself out there so that people can actually see you, know you, and hear you. You mentioned Barack Obama. Barack Obama was unknown. I mean, his position, was he a first-term senator? Yes. And yet, it is because people got to hear of him, know of him, and the whole country got to know, hear of him. Now, people know there is a gentleman by the name of Professor Kivutha Kibwana, yes. But they do not know you as well as they know William Ruto. They don't know you as well as they know Raila Odinga. They don't know you as much as they know Uhuru Kenyatta, and they ought to. What have you and your team set in place so that you can have the same outreach that these individuals have?
I think in recent times, some of what we have done in Makueni has given us very critical profile, because in many places where I go, people, say, you are the president that we should have. And if that doesn't happen, you will be the president that we never had. So there is a lot of knowledge of the things that Makueni do. And in actual fact, I tell my colleagues that the name of Makueni is a very special name, and they must maintain that, even those who will come after me. But let me also say, when we were advocating for the Constitution, and I had been a lecturer when we started 88, when I was at 34, even President Moi then did not realize that there was a group that was in formation that was doing certain things. And by the time when he knew, because of the way in which we organized ourselves in terms of organizing ourselves, quote, underground and within the grassroots, by the time he realized that actually there was a force, it was a bit too late to stop it. And although there were episodes of, being abducted and all that kind of stuff. So, you see, when many of the people who go, they have a big crowd, and then when the other person comes, the same crowd is there, and sometimes they're expecting money and all that, and excitement. I work with the faith sector, I work with the youth sector, I work with the professional people, and there are ways in which I reach them, which is not necessarily the usual way of reaching a big crowd in a town. You stop the town, you make sure you block the main road and so on. Even when I go to the church and so on, because I'm a Christian, I have decided that I will not do politics there. I will not invite cameras and so on, unless I've gone to church and it's somebody else who has come. Because I also believe that I don't have to be afraid of any politician. I don't have to be afraid that, I go to Honorable Raila's meeting. If there is a church event of Ruto, I will also go to that. Because I'm a competitor as them, and I don't have to be afraid of them. And when I become a president, I'll be a president of all of them. And if they become president, I will also be under them and so on. So I think it is how people campaign. And by the way, when Obama started, because we went to the same school in the States, when he started, actually, instead of going to get a big corporate job after going through Harvard, he went to help communities to deal with the problems that they had, if it's housing problem, if it's a health problem, and all that. So it is only that we haven't seen there are other ways of campaigning, so that you do the last mile within communities. And that is what in Makueni 2013, even when ODMK was against us, we were able to succeed because we campaign in a different way.
So are you saying, Your Excellency, that the work that you have done and the work that you are currently doing within the circles who have intimate knowledge of this, that is enough to propel you to this national executive position? Do you think it's enough? What about those people who are not in those circles? What about those people who need a little bit more gregarious persuasion? What about them?
There are about 1,450 wards in the country. And our strategy is to make sure that our candidature and what it stands for will reach those 1,450 spaces at that very low level. And that's what we did for the Constitution in terms of civic education. We were able to work with groups which were in all these places. And we got that message through. Of course, during that time, we also helped a lot by the media, because a time was reached when the media was not happy with the way in which the country was running. We were helped by the religious sector because we would do the education in their venues and all that. So I think because we are doing things in a different way, for example, the deputy president will go to 20 places in like let's say 10 places in one day. In terms of how I operate and the people that I talk to and people of in many places, I'm able to actually literally, like during a day, do like 3 things. But it's only that sometimes people do them so that there's a lot of visibility, and some other times when you're really planting your ideas, you may decide to have a different strategy. But I also admit that some of these names, like Raila, Ruto, the ones I called the hostess, they have positions of, if you are a deputy president, if you are a former prime minister, somebody who has really committed their life to causing change and so on. Those have significant visibility, particularly within the media space, and they also, have resources to go to very many places and so on. So that is something that I recognize, but it doesn't mean that one can't devise a way of reaching Kenyans, which is not necessarily the same as, and if you look at Europe, you will be able to see parties which are called fringe parties. And those fringe parties, like green parties, they have a way of organizing so that at the end, even when they don't win in a parliamentary system, they become very influential, and sometimes you have to use them to tilt the power balance. And I'm not saying that I won't win, but I think what we are, when you talked about the if you're invited and then you can break the glass, I was just thinking loudly that in my community it's a half calabash and not a glass. And so I think what we really have to offer is important. In terms of our country, we try to help Kibaki when I was his advisor, and even things like the youth ministry, some of the funds and so on. We used to work in his office, and we would generate ideas, and we brought out some of those ideas. So I am sure in my own mind that I am not spent. There is that which I can help Kenya, and I know it's a question of God leading me so that I'm able to do that, and because I don't really seek power for power's sake, I am sure God will advocate for me, will show me what I must do.
Prof, we can't really take away from you the fact that you are experienced. You've been in the trenches for many years, like you said, from the lecture halls to the civil society corridors to politics. You've been elected into parliament. You've been elected as governor twice, despite all the odds and the challenges. So therefore, when you say that you've got a strategy on how you want to approach the presidential race, we really have to sit back and say, okay, so he knows what he's talking about. But we've got to ask you those questions that, hey, okay, so he says he wants to be president. We have to compare with what we have seen previously as the presidential campaigns. Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation shortly. Governor Kivutha Kibwana is speaking to us from Makueni County. He wants to be the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Are you ready to give him the vote? Is he campaigning? Have you heard that he's actually seeking the presidency? These are the questions that we are asking. And then we'll ask him, so what does he want to do if he gets to become president of the Republic? 29 minutes after 8, Kenya's biggest conversation continues on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work. The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, oh, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather
Cloudy
with
conditions
Spice
in Nairobi
FM.
today, and we'll continue through most of today. Nakuru City will see highs of 21, and in Nyeri town this morning, a bit of a chill over the city as well. We're going to highs of 22 in Nyeri, and we're seeing 17 degrees and 19 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 14. Mombasa this morning is raining at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Light rain in Malindi at 29 with highs of 31. It'll come down to lows of 26. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 24. In Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. And in Kakamega, it's mostly cloudy at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 18. In Kampala, it's partly sunny at 22, highs of 30 and lows of 20. Dar es Salaam, rain showers at 27, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Cloudy conditions at 17 in Johannesburg. It'll go to highs of 23 and lows of 14. Lagos, clear at 26, highs of 34 and lows of 26. And it's raining in Kinshasa quite heavily, so at 24, with highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
In and outbound traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, getting into the city, and we're looking at North Airport Road, which had taken quite the hit early on, but it's not too crazy right now. Southern Bypass is looking pretty good. There's your option. Use the Eastern one and the Northern Bypass as well. Outer Ring, then going a long way onto Thika Road. Unfortunately, now is spilling over into that Thika Road traffic today. Not too badly, though. It's going to pick up right around Survey and join with the traffic that's coming off Kiambu Road. Uhuru Highway continues to be a thing, especially at this point, getting towards the Haile Selassie roundabout. And Gong Road continues, as does Langata Road, just a wee bit, however. It's not too bad on Langata Road this morning. Kudos to ya. Ryle Dingo Way also looks pretty good until you get to the roundabout at City Mortuary. Keep an eye on things for you in about half an hour. Let's check and see what it looks like. Spice of MKE on Twitter, text 40127.
Can I tell you my latest favorite show on Showmax?
Tell us about your latest, most favorite show
on Showmax. It's called Kina. It's a Kenyan production.
Kina who?
Kina.
Oh.
Hmm?
No, not Akina who.
It's Kina.
K-I-N. There's no A.
Kina.
Yes.
Akina Ndu Okoh. Kina.
It's a show. It stars Jimmy Gathu, who's Fred Tandala. And then there's Sanai Peitan, the musician. She's Nana Tandala. Where? Woman is evil. And she doesn't die.
Modern day Kenyan Jezebel.
And she does not die, no matter what you do. My God. One of the very, very, very popular shows on Showmax. If you want to watch this one, subscribe to Showmax today. Showmax.com, you get all the details. You can actually even upgrade your Showmax if you're already subscribed to DSTV. Get subscription to Showmax today and you get 1 month extra free. www.showmax.com.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
25 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. In the room is Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga. And joining us this hour in the hot seat in his own comfortable office is the governor of Makueni County, His Excellency Kivutha Kibwana, who is a presidential aspirant, wants to be the next presidential candidate under the Muungano Party. Governor, we were talking about what you've been doing and what your idea for campaigning has been. And we even looked at your own track record, what you've done from the civil society, from positions of leadership as an assistant minister, from advisor to the president, to a governor of a county for 2 terms. And you even tweeted and said, I'd like Kenyans to mobilize in their own small way and campaign for me through word of mouth. One of the people that you've mentioned that has worked with you, throughout this journey of seeking reforms in the country is the former Chief Justice, Dr. Willy Mutunga. He tweeted in response to your tweet and he said, in the name of Jesus, you need, therefore, to clearly, robustly, continually and consistently critique brutally the political baronical factions and their politics of criminal status quo. Alternative and authentic political voices need to be heard and believed. It seems, Dr. Mutunga says, you need to be louder than you have been.
Yes, Dr. Mutunga, the former Chief Justice, is my mentor from university days because he taught me at the university and we had really almost a father-son relationship, although the gap between both of us is not very large. And of course, Mutunga is a Muslim, but he subscribes to all faiths. And so when he says, in the name of Jesus, that's a very important...
It's in response to what you had said. Jesus walked in on a donkey and he went to face his fight. So he told you.
So the reference here is not just Jesus in the spiritual form, but the donkey rider.
Yes.
The donkey rider.
Yes.
I have a way of engaging people and issues. I don't necessarily... combat what I think is not the correct position, rather the people. For example, I'm not going to rise up and say, I think the president has done this, I think Raila has done this, I think Ruto has done this. I state by a life example, my position by what I do. And then I advocate the things that I think need to be done. And I don't think that I have to necessarily put people down or be very vitriolic in terms of, criticizing them because they have also supporters. And I'm trying to convince their supporters so that their supporters will come to my side. So there is a small difference there in terms of how my approach and what my teacher, my mentor is advocating. So I'm not going to go out there and say, these are the barons and they, did what. But I'm going to say, what do I stand for? What do I think can be done so that our country changes? Because when God and the people of Kenya elect me to be president, then all those people will be under me, and I don't want to appear to really antagonize them. When I can, do my campaigns, and I can, convince people in a way so that I don't appear to threaten people, to badmouth people, to do stuff. But it's true in politics sometimes. I can see colleagues getting at each other's jugulars, and I think it's even going to get worse as we go towards August, and that is a danger, because when you mobilize your people against the others, and you are telling them that those people are bad people, and they are all that kind of stuff, then we divide our country, and in 2022 we really don't want to go back to 2007-8. So it is, even when we were advocating for the Constitution, I think we anybody who followed how I went about my business will realize that I was not, really going for the jugular of Moi and so on. I was talking about the bad things that are happening. If it is a centralization of power, I would talk about the issue and not necessarily, focus too much on the people. But I continue my conversation with my mentor, and there are many things that is able to contribute to my life. But there is also another way in which I try to tell him that I want to do business. And of course, I've been criticized by some of those reformers, saying that you even at some point appeared to support BBI, which was not true. And sometimes you soften, you appear to be dining with these people. Like 2002, when I got into politics, some of the reform people didn't want that to happen. They wanted us to continue in civil society. So there are differences, but they are healthy differences, and we continue to make conversation.
Your Excellency, I like what you're saying. Your approach is an excellent approach. It's accommodating, and as you say correctly, it's not vitriolic. However, your party, how widespread is the membership? How many officers do you have around the county? Or are you going to tell me that isn't part of your strategy to have officers around the country? Because when I look at, I'm going back again to the example of Obama. Obama had a party structure behind him. So even though he was not known perhaps because he was a one-term senator, but his party machinery was there to support him. So I'm asking, how robust, how widespread, and how strong is your party structure?
That's a very legitimate question. And by the way, many of our parties are dead parties, with the exception of probably, because even now Jubilee, which is the ruling party, is having major problems. You'll remember NAC died after 5 years. Many of these parties are seasonal.
It's alive, Governor. Your neighbor is the party leader of NAC, Governor Ngilu.
and we must say really pole to her because of the loss of those very many people in the river.
Indeed.
We must say sorry for her. She's really when you talk about ladies, you talk about Martha and Ngilu, they are also my heroes. And she continued to quote on what was left of NAC.
Okay.
So I'm saying I'm saying that one thing that we must do as a country, and I'm going to answer about Muungano, but one thing that we must do as a country is to actually make sure that there are real political parties. That's one big miss in our journey towards democracy, because many of them belong to people. For you to be nominated, you must know those people, or sometimes even you must pay more than the nomination fees. So we are working on making Muungano a real party so that, for example, we have true membership. We have an elected leadership. When we have nomination rules, they are adhered to. It is a party of vision. and we can go towards what ANC was, what CCM was. It's a long journey. Now we have officers according to the law, because you must have at least officers in 24, minimum 24 counties. So there is that, and even it's true that many of the parties which were registered, they have to farm up again their officers and so on. But it's not just having a physical office. It is the first step of, and this is what we are continuing to do, making sure that we have membership. And as I said, we are going to have an ADC in January. And because actually I'm a student of electoral law, where that's what I worked on for my dissertation, and I wrote extensively on political parties. As we Muungano being work in progress, but as we make it stronger, and of course at the end one will not. You cannot rule out
Governor,
the fact of entering into coalitions with others.
Let me come in here on that particular issue of the political party. You're saying that you want now to strengthen Muungano party. You were in Muungano. You left Muungano, went to Wiper. You left Wiper, came back to Muungano. Now, how do we trust that even if we gave you the presidency, you're not going to do what we have seen happen to Jubilee? That this Muungano that you're talking about being a bigger party, you'll still abandon it and form something new.
We went into coalition with the Wiper Party, so we had not abandoned Muungano. But unfortunately, many of the things that we had put in our MOU were not respected, and that is what made us now say we still will go back home to Muungano. And actually, when we left Muungano, for me to go into Wiper, we had a public participation process within Makueni. And, because I was a governor there, and then I asked the people, do you think we should, make a union with Wiper? And initially they refused. They said, no, we don't trust what will happen there. You might be mistreated. And we had to call the leader of Wiper to Makueni for the people to talk to him and give him conditions. But unfortunately, those conditions were not adhered to. And again, now the people, have said, come back to us. We want now to tell you, you now need to do something else. So we try to be guided by the people, so Muungano is home. Muungano, we are going to, build it. We want to get into coalitions with the so-called small parties initially. And because you can't, even as a president, you must have parliament, and therefore we are also ready to get into a coalition with like-minded people.
Governor, you have used, fairly extensively Christian analogy. You've talked of the Christian God, the Christian Jesus, but there's something about Jesus that I've always found appealing. He had disciples. And it is these disciples who went out to spread the message. His message was just in his home area, in his Gishagi. And then it moved out and it went to all the other places. I'm going back to that question of now, I'm using your analogy and the example you've set, your disciples. The partnerships that Jesus had were people who are, again, of like-minded. And he went from Samaria to the other places that they went to. Now, you, sir, as the leader of Muungano Party, who are your disciples before you start reaching out for, and where are they before you start reaching out for coalitions with other like-minded individuals?
As I tried to explain earlier, I work with many people, and whether it's in the youth fraternity, it's in the professionals, it is in generally the middle class, it's many people also at the grassroots, organizations at the grassroots. We have this elaborate network of people that we work with, and some of it is from the civil society days, and also from my work as a governor working with others. And these are the 12 disciples. They were just 12. Now we have many people that we are working with, and of course I'm not comparing myself to Jesus or other prophets. And some of why I talk a lot about Jesus and so on is, apart from being a believer, I actually studied theology, and it was comparative theology, Christian, Islam, comparative theology. So it's only that some of what we are doing, there are times you arrange your politics or your activism in such a way that a lot is happening underground until a time is reached and it is unveiled. And then people say, where was this all this time?
Governor, it could be, excuse me, it could be assumed that we know, but why do you want to be president of Kenya?
Yes, it could be assumed that and it's not good for one to leave it at the level of where people just assume. In Makueni, we have constructed the people's government, where from the level of the village, and we have 43 villages, something we call a cluster, 377 of them, up to the ward, sub-ward, and up to the county. We have actually people who are elected. They elected themselves, and they run a lot of the things in Makueni. Like they do their budget, like they supervise their projects, like they even during bursary they give out. I think we have done our politics here without really involving the people so that there is ownership of the government. I think we can do this for the whole of Kenya. In terms of the constitution and rule of law, if you, as a leader, you made sure that the constitution is followed, you made sure that, nobody is above, the law, and the things that, whether it's socioeconomic rights within the constitution, whether it is the rights of people, it's dignity, it's, if you did all that, and it's not necessarily a very difficult thing to do, Kenya would be like those other countries which respect their constitutions and laws. If you are able to tame corruption, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, if there is something that holds us back, it is a question that, as our president said, each day 2 billion shillings are lost. In a year, that would be over 700 billion shillings. And that is 2 years of the money that is given to counties currently. And for example, one thing that we have done in Makueni is in terms of the procurement. Our procurement, we do open contracting, so that whatever information about procurement, who is asking to get jobs, how much are they charging, and all that, it's open to the public, and the public can say, this thing happened, it was not correct, and so on. And we are the only county, and even it's a discussion at the national level, but it has not happened, where there is that kind of transparency and openness. So that corruption thing, I am sure in my administration, it's something that we will deal with. And if from the very top, you show it clearly that it's not to be tolerated. Like when Kibaki came in, citizens were arresting police people, and so because they were convinced that we had to go away from corruption. Then devolution. In actual fact, if devolution is properly implemented, so that the functions that go to counties are given to counties, they aren't parastatals or ministries doing what counties should do. If there's a bit of increment of the money that goes to devolution, we have talked about 35%. It can be even 40, 45, like in other countries, Japan, Nigeria, and so on. So that really devolution and we control so that even in the counties there isn't, wrongdoing and stuff like that. Again, I think I can deal with the negative ethnicity so that the 46 communities feel they are included, so that when you are appointing your cabinet secretaries, the PSs, the heads of whatever, there isn't a group which is excluded. And you can even ask them, give us some of your best people so that they can be considered, so that we don't simply say whoever was campaigning is the one who will get positions and so on. Another elephant in the room is working with young people. From when I was a teacher at the university for 25 years, I worked with young people in civil society, now mentoring them in county government and so on. And we need to really focus there, and we are trying to do certain things in Makueni. Then we need to promote clean business, to promote private sector, look at the issue of taxation, look at all those issues, and really remove tenderpreneurs and cartels, running our agriculture, running our, transport sector, running everything. Then, of course, the public debt. The public debt, that is an albatross around us as a country. And that is something that, you need people who can even negotiate with the lenders, and we cancel some of the loans, we exchange some of them for green activity, and climate change work, and we sequence our, because you cannot say you won't pay, because that has dire consequences. And then to position our country in Eastern Africa, in Africa, the globe, because it's a country of immense potential, and where we have reached during the conclusion of President Uhuru Kenyatta, where we have reached, if the things that I have really talked about are emphasized, then we can be in a pole position in terms of the continent, and we will soon go to the real middle economy.
Governor Kivutha Kibwana, thank you very much for joining us. Let's have you again in the studio as you roll out your campaign, as you continue campaigning to seek the presidency, as you talk to more people. We appreciate you joining us this morning.
And I'm really very happy to this morning have a bit of spice in my morning and in my day.
Asante sana. Have a lovely day, Governor.
Asante.
His Excellency Kivutha Kibwana, Governor of Makueni County, wants to be the President of the Republic in the next election on 9th of August 2022. You've heard the man. He'll be coming to you, like he says, seeking your vote and seeking to get your support. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We've been live on KTN Home. Time for us to take a break. The conversations, however, continue on SpiceFM. In the next hour, we'll have the Governor of Kakamega County, FCPAK, Wycliffe Oparanya. He'll be with us in the studio. Keep it right here for that. Kenya's biggest conversation continues.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it
own
up.
money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This continues into the next hour. You've heard the man. He says, I'm just going to use what we have learned and achieved in Makueni and scale it up countrywide. The issue of a citizen's government, the issue of addressing public debt, of openness in public procurement and transparency. Those are things that you actually feel, oh yeah, they have been talked about at the national level.
Indeed. I mean, look, we're talking about things that he has been able to achieve in this county. And every time that you hear about development issues around the country, it's synonymous with what has gone on in certain counties, Makueni being one of them. The question for most people, though, is that are you going to be able to now connect what you've done with the prerequisite charisma that politicians need and a little bit louder persuasion of who you are and what you're able to do? Because if that's the appetite that Kenyans have, at the end of the day, they're going to the vote, and that's what they need.
Maybe we just look at the people of Makueni. They just did not need a loud person to come and tell them
They
stuff.
needed to get the work done.
They just looked at somebody and they thought, well, he's our son. He has been there. He probably understands. Let's give him a chance. And they are not complaining now with what they've gotten. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. The governor of Kakamega County, he'll be joining us somewhere in the hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Rescue operations in Alimbo gold mine in Nyeri County continues. Rescuers comprising of locals, Red Cross and other government agencies continue to look for the single miner who remains trapped. 3 people were rescued and rushed to Bondo Hospital for treatment. So far, only 1 person has been confirmed dead as a result of the tragedy. A total of 8 people were stranded while 6 people have been rescued alive so far. The prosecution in the ICC case against Kenyan lawyer Paul Gicheru has suffered a blow after the witnesses who were expected to give their testimonies withdrew from the case. Gicheru is facing charges of interfering with witnesses in a case against Deputy President William Ruto in the same court. According to Deputy Chief Prosecutor Paul Stewart, the 2 witnesses who initially admitted bribery were ready to present their evidence in court. However, the 2 later refused to attend an important meeting with the ICC to plan how to present the case and later told their lawyers that they were no longer willing to testify. One of the witnesses had confessed to receiving 2.5 million shillings and had been missing since 2013 before the prosecution tried to find him. The prosecution alleges that the witness was heavily relied on in the case against Deputy President William Ruto before being bribed with 2.5 million shillings and promised a job. In the case against Gicheru, he was also expected to substantiate allegations that the lawyer was involved in bribing witnesses. No parallel celebrations will be held in the counties during this year's Jamhuri Day. According to Interior PS Karanja Kibisho, the move follows extensive consultations across government and experts' advisories that such events will potentially accelerate COVID-19 infections. In addition, only 11,000 invited guests will be allowed into Uhuru Gardens during this year's celebrations. Kibisho, who chairs the National Celebrations Committee, said 10,000 people will be on the ground or the public ground, while 1,000 will be in the dais at the venue that has undergone major renovations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has defended Kenyan missions abroad after a parliamentary committee called for the scaling down of the budgetary allocation. Kenya has 56 diplomatic missions abroad, 2 missions in Nairobi and 31 honorary consuls across the world. In their defense, the ministry notes that Kenya's diplomatic missions are key in enhancing Kenya's economic diplomacy, which is one of the 5 pillars of Kenya's foreign policy alongside the peace, diaspora, cultural and environmental diplomacy pillars. It adds that missions also undertake a broader function in favor of Kenya's economic competitiveness. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations have arrested 5 people over a 2.9 million shillings fake gold fraud in Karen, Nairobi County. The 5 allegedly defrauded a Korean of the money while purporting to sell them gold bars using a company called Ekweme Enterprises. Robinson Gitao, Levi Kombo, Fatuma Mohammed, Eva Kimotho, together with Cameroonian identified as Utia Kugi, are said to have used accomplices to direct Song Soon to their supposed company premises in the upmarket neighborhood where he was shown the purported gold bars. The accomplices afterwards made away with the money Sung had offered for the bars, where he raised an alarm with the police. Still, boxes of the fake gold bars were recovered in the incident, while the 5 are in police custody awaiting arraignment. Kiambu County Assembly Speaker Stephen Disho has suspended 15 MCAs from the House for 90 days over what he termed as disorderly conduct. Speaker Disho, in a memo, accused the MCAs of storming the assembly armed with hammers, chains and locks and disrupting a board meeting on December 2nd. They allegedly threatened and harassed members of the board before taking away board files and causing a stampede in the House. The MCAs further reportedly violently and physically ejected the Speaker and the clerk from their offices. Speaker Disho added that the MCAs, led by the Majority Leader and Whip, on November 30th disrupted both the morning and afternoon sittings, forcing him to suspend the sessions. And Burundi's government says that 8 prisoners were killed in a fire in Gitega, the country's political capital. Vice President Prosper Bazombaza announced the deaths. More than 60 other people have been injured and the death toll could rise. The prison in Gitega is overcrowded with more than 1,500 inmates in cells designed to hold 400, according to local reports. A bomb killed 4 people in the southern Iraqi city of Basra, the first such attack in years in a part of the country that has enjoyed relative stability, and a senior official said Islamic State militant was suspected of carrying it out. The blast near a major hospital in the predominantly Shiite Muslim city was caused by a motorbike rigged with explosives, the military said in a statement citing preliminary information. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Bomb attacks in the Basra area has been rare. The last major one was in 2017 and claimed by Islamic State. The authorities have kept a tight grip on the area where the bulk of the OPEC members' oil is produced and exported. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
We're still in traffic hour, and it looks like it's continuing on Uhuru Highway this morning, in and outbound traffic, interestingly enough. And we're also looking at traffic continuing on Langata Road. It was looking a little bit better, but now has clogged up yet again. Raila Odinga Way quite packed as well, going towards Ngong Road. And coming in from the Thika Superhighway, that still continues. Still in traffic hour, guys. It looks like it's going to take some time to end. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. Let us know what's happening with you. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only
It's
way
7
to
after
start
9.
your
How
day.
are you doing? Good morning. Thank you very much for keeping it locked on SpiceFM or online, wherever you're watching us from. Let's begin the hour with the day's proverb. City.
Harusi usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe, utalipa. If you attend a wedding ceremony to which you had not been previously invited, and perchance you break a cup, of course the breakable variety of cups, you will pay for it.
Governor Kibwana says in Makueni, it's half calabash. Break that. Pay.
You know, Governor Kibwana is one of those rare leaders who actually lived up to what I would call the ideal mandate of what a governor should be. Because we didn't know what governors could do. We didn't know how they would go about their business. when they first got in those offices, it was a blank slate and one wrote it as they went along.
Yeah.
But in my mind, what I have seen happening in Makueni and what he has done, it is a rare breath of fresh air when somebody actually says something, does it, says another, does it, says another, does it. And what's more, you see it.
Do you think it's because also he had the advantage of having written extensively about it?
No, it's the person he is.
There's that. But there's also the fact that, he had spent a lot of time looking at how can devolution work. He had, when he was pushing for the new constitution, he was pushing for devolution. So he has interacted with the information of what devolution could. So he had sort of written a template of how devolution could then work. So he's coming to implement something that he has thought through many years, chewed cud and completely refined. Other governors are coming in with, okay, so we need to have devolution, we need to do this and this and the other. There are very many things up in the air.
Ndu, please.
Right, so that means he had already been very conversant with it and understood that this is actually how it's going to happen. So then it was easy for him to ease into it because this had been his baby for a very long period of time. And is that not what we say right now? These are the demands that we are making, that if you don't have an intimate knowledge of the how, then whatever it is that you're telling us really doesn't make sense. You can make all these promises that you want, but it seems like just that. Fleeting promises gone like the morning mist at noon because you don't have an intimate knowledge of it. You don't know how it's going to be practiced. You've not studied it. You don't understand what the parameters are. So when you're making the promises, it just presents as just so. Promises.
How do you aspire for a leadership as lofty and as demanding as that of a governor? And you don't even understand the basic concept that you don't need to know everything. There are other people who do, and you engage these people. It's not you. You're the leader. You are not the send around. You are not the operations manager. You are the CEO. So even if you don't know, there are people who do. And then also we have a class of people who had been in civil society. Some had worked for corporations. So you cannot say that they did not know how best you can actually implement a program like this one. This one, get out of jail free card, doesn't exist. Okay? Literally everyone who was governor at the first turn had experience in managing something. Now, you're being told, you can say, okay, it was a huge project. Yes, but budgeting is also a basic concept that is expanded to a much larger audience, a much larger sphere. How many times has budgeting for the country been compared to budgeting for a home? Deciding what you put here, it's limited. That's why you're budgeting.
Yeah.
No, Eric, it is the person. I am not diluting the fact that he had knowledge better than very many other people, but it is the person. Because he is a certain type of person, so he went about things in a certain way, and he was committed to it.
He had clarity of mind.
This vagueness of, should I steal 10 million or 100 million? It is clear he didn't have that problem. Should this project cost more than it should? Should I talk about building hospitals and upgrading the health system and actually eating 3/4 of the money and only putting a quarter into? No. By the time people from all counties in the country are going to Makueni to benchmark, what do you think has happened there? And they also have resources. They could do the same thing, but they want to figure out, how can this thing be done? How did this guy go about it?
If he was very clear when he was a lecturer and getting out of the lecture halls to join the civil society movement. He was clear in 2002 when he was joining politics, and his fellows in the civil society were telling him, no, let's stay here and keep pushing. He said, I want to get into the parliament. He was clear. He was clear when he said, I want to become governor. Do you think he's still clear that he wants to become president?
You're asking me. I think it's clear. I actually think it's clear. There's something about his message. Yeah? What I got from the whole discussion was, look, guys, we have our ducks in a row. I'm not going to talk about all of it here. At the right time, I will unveil those details. So you can keep asking me the same question in whatever roundabout way you like, but I'm going to tell you the same thing in an equally roundabout way. But we have plans, and at the right time, I will talk about it. Then he gave the example and said, look, in the Moi era, there are things we were planning. We didn't unveil everything at the same time. By the time we unveiled it, that horse had bolted. So even when you try to close the stable door, too late, gone.
It had enough momentum.
It had a lot of, and it was going, and it just kept going and going and going.
So
and
do
going
you
and going.
believe that there is some momentum happening somewhere within Muungano Party and the Governor Kivutha Kibwana presidency that we are not feeling yet?
Let me put it this way. Because I subscribe to faith every now and then, I will, should we say, sequester that particular thought to that particular department. Let us wait and see.
Sure. The thing is, though, the wait-see approach right now, as things we talked about the horse already having bolted from the stable, is that how much time are Kenyans really going to give you to then say, all right, this is what we are planning on doing, this is how we're going to go about it. Also, we must realize that while there is silence in one quarter, there is a lot of noise in others. There is a lot that's being said on the other side that, unfortunately, in the absence of an alternate view, is going to convince Kenyans in one way or the other. In the absence of that thing which you hopefully will convince them, if you do not say it, there's somebody else who's making another noise.
Somebody else is already saying it.
Yes.
Loudly.
And loudly so.
But look, let's go back to 2002 then. Okay? So there was a lot of noise from Moi coming out very clearly and saying, I am not vying in the next election.
No.
But I want so-and-so to be the next candidate for KANU. KANU was clear. The opposition had already started having these conversations about opposition alliance. They had met the NAK, the National Alliance of Kenya, Kibaki, Ngilu, and Wamalwa, with the support of the civil society. That whole conversation about opposition unity was very, very clear, but it was muted. It was not as loud. It was not very clear. So who is the NAK candidate? Is it Kibaki? Is it Ngilu? Okay, it looks like it should obviously be Kibaki, but it was not very clear.
No, it wasn't.
Until very late. But it was late with some serious momentum, such that even by the time the renegades of KANU were coming out of KANU to come back into the opposition, they came and found an organized opposition that the only slot that they could then negotiate for was a prime minister slot. President and vice president had already been negotiated in the back rooms of the National Alliance of Kenya. Ngilu was in the rate, but it was Kibaki and Kijana. It was clear in their quarters. It was not clear to us, but later it emerges, these guys are already organized.
You know, I'm of a different view. The momentum that was gained after the renegades of KANU joined them. That's my view. Now, the one thing that Kibaki had, which was significantly better than everybody else's, apart from his long stint as a civil servant and a high-ranking official, Kibaki had also had a stab at the presidency on 2 separate occasions, but Kibaki had a reputation. When I hear Professor Kibwana talking about Kibaki, it's with great respect, because Kibaki's tenure in government, his record in many, many ways was telling. It was, you looked at it and you said, this man, you didn't need to look for what Kibaki had done. It was staring at you, it was there. And Kibaki also was not loud. He was anything but loud. In fact, the significant thing in 2002, Kibaki did things that nobody had actually seen him do before.
What I'm driving at, actually, with that point,
yes,
is that maybe it's not too late for Kivutha Kibwana. That, as he says, there could be, the talks that he's having, the momentum that he's building, that it just needs a little accelerant at some point. And what we think is, the advantage in the race that others have may actually just be obliterated,
Eric,
within a very short time.
You may very well be right, because Kivutha has something that none of these other people have. Kivutha seems laid back, but that's his style. It's the same style he has used throughout, and it's the same style that has gotten him to be governor. And remember, this is the one man who actually sought a referendum when his MCAs tried to hold him hostage. He said, really? Okay. When president just disbanded this thing, let's go back to the election. Now, when a man has that courage, you see that and you realize, let's not take this soft-spoken man for granted and assume he has no backbone. In fact, it's his voice. The guy has a serious backbone, and he also has serious clarity. It's just that his style runs afoul of the political norm we've come to assume, expect, and believe in.
And be used to.
Yes.
Sure. Look, there's in the game of politics, there's absolutely nothing that cannot topple the apple cart.
Yes.
Right? And it could be anything at any point. There's also this microwave instant coffee kind of thing that the general populace is looking at. I want to see now exactly what it is that you're going to do. But then also, what have we, and even as you say this, then I'm probably being convinced that, the best things are the ones that take their time in the oven. And then maybe that's what will be presented to Kenyans as, look, at the end of the day, this is what I have. Is it time that you had a wait-see kind of politics in this country? Because the things that have come to you instant, fast and in a hurry are what Kenyans are complaining today never really worked. The things that came to you and they hit the ground running immediately, go, 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 historically have proved then, and we were seeing it today. What are people complaining about? What are people saying that promises have been made, they've not been done? The people that are being presented to you today, and you ask the question, in the positions where you were, what did you do? What have you done? But you want that instant thing. But it looks as though there's a bun in the oven now, and it's taking some time to be cured. And then when it comes out, it's possibly what?
Eric's point is actually an extremely valid one. And there are citizens and voters in other constituencies who have actually indicated with clarity that they're not fooled with the drama and the hype that goes with our electioneering. And neither are they gung-ho, absolutely so, about handouts. Governor Tichilo is a perfect example. Says it, does it. He does not give handouts. MP 2 times. Was it 3 times? Elected governor. Now, what does that tell you? Yes, people are not fooled with handouts. Yes, they will take them. But somehow, sometimes you don't need a plethora of examples for a concept to actually be proved. No. You need one example and you say, that one example, it's good enough. It means you can see it can be done. Now, if you're talking about Otichilo's County and then you're talking about Kivutha Kibwana, if you sit back and look again and cast your eye and go to Kwale, you'll find something similar. Governor Mvurya, same thing. He has the funds. It doesn't matter whether you like the man or not. You cannot doubt what he has done with the money that his county has received. You cannot doubt it.
And they're not the loud ones.
That's the point. They are not dramatic. You don't see them singing and dancing and insulting people. You don't. In fact, you hardly ever hear of them. It's when they talk about the county, say, there's a governor called so-and-so. In fact, of that lot, the most known is Governor Kivutha Kibwana because he's been in this space for a long time. Now, you tell me, if you cast your eye even further and you give it even much thought, you will likely find that the other governors who may not be at that level, but you can see what they've been trying to do and you can see the progress that they have made. You can see it. And then the others, I will leave that statement there.
Talk. Kivutha Kibwana is not jolly come lately in the political race.
No, he's not.
He actually declared his candidacy a long time ago, even before Reuben Kigame, even before our next guest, Governor Oparanya, and others had even said that they'd like to get the ODM ticket. Kivutha Kibwana had been there, and that's why the question comes in, is he a reluctant candidate? I mean, let's say, when did we speak to him last? It was last year.
Yes,
and he had by last year, he had already said, I want to be the next president of Kenya.
He had mentioned it even on the show.
Yes.
Yes, he had.
So since then to now, you don't feel like, okay, well, we have seen Kivutha in Raleigh, we have seen Kivutha. You feel like, but I'm not feeling the movement.
But Eric,
that's what is maybe making people ask themselves, is this man a reluctant presidential candidate?
But ask yourself the question also. Even the governor whom we're about to have on the show, not loud, but he falls in the category of the other 3 governors I've mentioned. His people speak well of him and the things he has done. And there's a stellar track record that you can see. He is not loud, not dramatic. And he also declared he wants to be president. So, is it that it's their style and we are unaccustomed to that style? Or as you asked correctly, are they reluctant?
Are they in it just to, tick the boxes and say, I want it to be? Or are they actually seeking to become president in their time? So we have been talking to Governor Kivutha Kibwana. He's still in the race, and he has said so very clearly. There are others who have also come out to say, I want to be president. Our friend Reuben Kigame, we keep mentioning him every time. Reuben Kigame has said he'd like to be president. Our next guest, the governor of Kakamega County, has already declared before he'd like to be president. In fact, we are told by the ODM party that he's even taken his application to ODM saying, I want to be president. The governor of Mombasa has also done the same. I want to be president. William Ruto, of course, the deputy president, has said he wants to be president. Maybe on the 10th, Raila Odinga will tell us that he wants to be president. He still hasn't said it openly. Those are the conversations that we're having. And our guest joins us now in the studio, the governor of Kakamega County, His Excellency FCPAK, Wycliffe Oparanya. Welcome to the Situation Room, sir.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
It's good to have you on the show.
Yes.
Eric Latiff here, Ndu Okoh, and CT Muga.
Mm-hmm.
Governor, we were talking to Kivuta Kibwana earlier,
yes,
and talking about his desire to become president. And we also knew that you were coming to join us, and that's why we're talking about this and saying we have candidates who have come out openly and said, you know what, I'd like to be president. But beyond that, we don't see them in political rallies saying, I want to be president, reminding us every time. We don't see them every time they're talking to us, reminding us, you know, I want to be president and this is what I want to do. One of them is you. Do you still want to be president,
yes,
Governor Oparanya?
I still want to be president.
So what have you been doing since the first time that you announced that you'd like to be president? What have you been working on?
As you know very well, I'm still the governor of Kakamega County up to 9th of August next year. And I have to serve my people up to that particular day. And as a party, our nominations are in March next year. So until we reach that nomination stage, we are nominated, I can't do premature campaign. So I'm waiting because I'm still serving the people as a governor. I'm waiting the nomination day because I put in my nomination papers, and you are aware of that.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting the nomination. As soon as I'm nominated, I will start now campaigning.
In the meantime, what are you doing? Are you reaching out to the delegates of the party?
You know, because of COVID, we could not reach out to the delegates. And we were supposed to have carried out elections for the party. It was not possible. So what we have been doing is to carry out some harmonization in all the branches and sub-branches. Until then is when you know who are your voters. Otherwise, if you just go now generally, you will be campaigning to people who will not vote for you. Because you need delegates to be able to be nominated. Until those lists are clear, and then you will be wasting your time. So that's what we are waiting for.
I see. One of the other people who wants that ticket that you're seeking in the party is Jimmy Wanjeke, who's come out to say, you know what, I want a clarity of who the delegates are. Are you in the same, do you agree with him when he says, we want clarity on the delegates?
And that's why I have said that at the moment there's no clarity. Because we were supposed to have carried out party election of the grassroots last year. It could not happen. So what now the National Election Board are doing at the moment is now carry out minimal grassroots election, selected areas they feel that we need an election. Areas they don't feel we need an election, they are harmonizing. They are putting together this list. So I will now know, out of these 4,000 delegates, these are the names. And then now I can campaign. Yeah, otherwise, at the moment, you just waste your time. So Jim Wanjik is right to say that there's no clarity until those lists are compiled.
One of the things that one reads about and one hears about Your Excellency is a remarkable record of good governance, a good development record that you've maintained in Kakamega County.
Yes.
How have you done it?
You must have known my history, that before I was Minister for Planning.
Yes, you were.
Most of these plans that are being executed now went through that ministry. And you remember even Vision 2030, we commissioned it. The retired President Mike Kibaki commissioned it on 10th June 2008 when I was Minister for Planning. And there are clear plans. People, Kenyans, are poor in reading, very poor. You know, Kenyans like reading newspapers than reading books. And there are clear plans in that Vision 2030, in the Vision 2030 book, which if I was in this government, I would have revised it because, development depends also on what is happening in the environment. So it's a continuous process. So you keep on updating as more issues come on the surface. Like now, mining was not given emphasis in that particular document, but now mining is a major sector that can save this country from many other the poverty that we have. So before you start executing, you must, one, have proper structures. So you must establish proper structures to create checks and balances. If you don't have proper structures, you put money somewhere, it is wasted. There must be a checks and balances effect. Secondly, spend more time planning. You can spend 2 years planning about a project. Execution can take half a year, but you have spent, identify proper personnel, identify proper resources to do that project. So have the right people. The other one is human resource. You must make sure you have the right people. Or you must have people, make sure that you train them well. And they must understand your vision as a leader. Where are you going? What are the expectations of the people? It is very important. Because not all of them will have same skills. There are weaker ones, there are strong ones, but you have to take them, all of them along. The weaker one, you strengthen them through training, through advice. The stronger one, you also encourage them. So that's what I have done in Kakamega County.
Governor, obviously you were able to do that because you saw what the problem areas were.
Yeah.
And then now able to work with other people and provide solutions. And that's clear that we've seen that. Obviously, in your quest then to become president of the country, there are certain things that I'm assuming that you see are wrong. What are some of those things? And then how do you intend, or what would you like to do to right those wrongs?
You see, when we got independence, we said that we are going to fight poverty in this country, people to be educated because the illiteracy was very high, and healthcare, people are healthy so that they are able to manage themselves. But unfortunately, we have not reached there. There is still a lot of poverty in our country. There is a lot of unemployment in this country. So obviously, there might be some things that we have not done right as a country. And that's why I feel that having had my experience in government as a minister, now having been a governor, closer to the people, when I get this chance as a president of the Republic of Kenya, there are issues that I will do differently.
There are very many issues things that you bring as experience, all those things, from being an MP, from being a minister, now being a governor for 2 terms, that you have clearly seen this works, this doesn't work. Very many of the complaints that we've heard on devolution works. I'm one of the biggest supporters of devolution. It works. But some of the complaints that we hear from devolution is the issue of resources, either meager resources being taken to the counties and the delay in the release of these resources. From where you sit, as somebody who has also sat in the Treasury, what is the problem?
I know those problems are there, that there are not enough resources going to the counties, and even if they are available, they are not available on time. And that's why some of these issues, when I was chairman of the Council of Governors, I raised them, and they had been captured in the BBI. Because BBI had guaranteed counties to get at least 35%, which now is not going to happen. And also within BBI, we had put structures to ensure that money goes on time. Allocation to counties, release of funds was going to be the first charge to the exchequer every month. County get money first, the rest follow. That was going to happen because it was going to be in the Constitution, amendment to the Constitution. So this will have forced whoever is in the treasury to make sure that money flows. Yes. So it was unfortunate that BBI could not go through. And I'm hopeful that if Baba takes over, then that is going to be his first agenda.
Baba, not Oparanya.
If Baba, because you see, I have been moving with Baba around, and people tell him, why can't you go for presidency? Why can't you go for president? And I'm seated aside, which means people are maybe thinking that I have to wait. I have to wait. I have to wait.
What would you have to wait for? I mean, because if you've declared your intention.
I'm saying that if I get nomination in March, then I will have the luck. But you see, I don't know what the delegates are thinking about me, but out there, when I sit with Baba, they say, Baba, enda, Paranya ngojea. So
who are you listening to? Are you listening to what your conviction is saying, go for this position, or are you listening to what, as you've confessed to now, what the ground is saying? Hold on.
In politics, you must also listen to the people. Because there are those people who are going to give you the vote. So we are listening, but we don't know. They have been urging Baba. Baba has not decided. So if he doesn't decide, then I have a bigger chance. Yes, I have a bigger chance.
But those things that you're saying about, resource mobilization, let's even say Baba or Oparanya becomes president. Is that the problem, or is there a systemic problem? I'm asking this fully understanding that you've told us you have experience running government as a minister. I'm looking at your other colleagues in the Council of Governors. Governor Kimemia has experience running government as head of civil service. We have Kivuda Kibwana has experience running government as advisor to the president and assistant minister. Charity Ngilu has been a minister. Anne Waiguru has been a minister. James Ongwae has been a PS. The person who's now in the treasury has been a governor. Is it really the fact that it's not in law that money should be 35% could go to the counties? I mean, this could have been done.
You see, the law is weak. The law itself is weak. In fact, we have a regulation, public finance regulation of 2015, which says that counties should get money at least by 15th of every month. This is just a regulation, which it does not happen. And enforcement of a regulation is difficult sometimes because it's not law. So, but we wanted these issues put in law. And obviously, when that time that the necessary laws on devolution were being enacted in Parliament, there were so many people at that time who were against devolution. And they weakened those laws intentionally because they didn't like devolution. Very few people want to cede power to others. So that is what BBI was going to rectify.
Essentially, what I hear you to be saying, Your Excellency, was that instead of looking at the BBI and the issue of the allocation to the counties as a big step forward in developing the country, there are people who actually saw it as ceding power.
Yeah.
And so that particular moment, in a sense, was lost, and BBI sought to regain that particular process.
Yes.
But let me ask the question, is all lost really?
It's not all lost. We are hopeful that whoever becomes president will support devolution, first of all. Because if he or she does not support devolution, then we will have the same problem that we are having now. But I can't say that the current president has not supported devolution, because I happen to have worked very closely with him when I was chairman of the Council of Governors, and he has really supported devolution. But the legislation that is there is weak, I can tell you. It is weak.
Is it what was making the government, the national government, well, no, not the national government. Is it what was making the government not cede more resources to the counties? Is it because of legislation? Or is it just sitting and agreeing that, yes, as the head of the national government and head of state, I understand what the whole concept of devolution is all about. This is how much we are setting aside as our budget, and much more should go to the counties to support the functions of the counties. That does not require regulations or law.
I've told you that there are so many enemies of devolution, even in the current government. There are so many enemies. The president might have the goodwill, but those who are implementing take time. I can tell you one example where the president gave us 3 billion to mitigate against COVID-19. That 3 billion, he said, can this money be released immediately to the counties? You know, it took about 4 months to be released. When we were in the table, he was saying immediate, which meant maybe tomorrow.
Or this afternoon.
But
right.
it took four months, and now going round. And you know, the president is not a person who will keep on ringing and asking such, because he has made a decision. So I've told you that there are too many enemies. And because of these enemies, you must strengthen legislation. And the Kenyans, because they don't trust any other person, put it in the constitution. Because it becomes difficult to change the constitution.
Your Excellency.
Yeah.
There is a question that we must ask.
Yeah.
Should it happen that the delegates do not think that you are the right person to be their choice for president, what do you see as your life in politics after being a two-term governor?
One, I belong to a party. So if I belong to the party and they feel that I cannot be president, someone else is capable of being president, first of all, I will make sure that I support that person to be president. And if that person gets the presidency, obviously, at my level, I will get something to do in that government. Something senior, not just by the way.
Well, at least you're being honest.
Yeah.
You're being honest.
Yeah,
because a lot of people would tell us, and they have said the same thing, that, I'm just there for the support.
No.
But you actually see that, look, there's an opportunity for you to still be in government.
And
there's
maybe run the government more than the president even. Yeah.
Are you having some backroom negotiations with some of the other candidates? For some, you are a wily politician. You've done these things many times for many years.
Yeah.
I definitely cannot sit back here and say what Governor Oparanya is telling us is something that he's just sitting back and hoping will happen.
No.
You must be making some moves towards this.
Yes.
What moves are these are you making?
One, I'm a senior member of ODM. I'm number 2.
You're the deputy party leader.
I'm the deputy party leader to Raila Amolo Odinga. Obviously, as ODM, we need others to win the president much more easily than when we are on our own. And all along, we have been negotiating with others. For example, Jubilee, the Uhuru Jubilee. The Uhuru Jubilee, we have agreed to come together because the other route of Jubilee went to UDA. But the Uhuru Jubilee will be with us. Already negotiations are at an advanced stage. Parties like PNU, the one of Munya, is also negotiating with us. And there are also small parties, Now, quite a number of many parties are coming up. Even OKA, we are also discussing the individual parties, not OKA as an organization, but individuals within that particular coalition. Yeah.
So you have all these conversations going on. Let's take a break at this point.
Yeah.
We just want to take a look at the traffic, and then we come back and continue with this conversation. Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, FCPAK, His Excellency Dr. Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya is with us in the Situation Room this morning. And we are talking about what he wants to do after he leaves office as governor in next year's election. Good morning. It's 17 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM. "24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*2# to read the Nairobian e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date, the hottest talk of town, with no additional charges.
Shipping and logistics is no longer a nightmare, courtesy of Sandy. Tune in to Sugar and Spice with Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute from 11 a.m. to find out how the Fulfillment app by Sandy is here to give you the peace of mind by ensuring all your packages are shipped safely to your destination.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Judicial is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room. The weather.
Mostly cloudy conditions
Spice
at 19 in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's cloudy in Nakuru City at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Nyeri is cloudy at 18 with highs of 24. We'll see lows of 14. In Eldoret, it's mostly cloudy at 19, highs of 25. We'll see lows of 14 as well. Light rain continues in Mombasa at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 26. And Malindi is wet as well at 31. That'll be the high for today, going to lows of 26. Kisumu, sunny conditions at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 20. All right, let's look into Kampala, where it's mostly cloudy at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 20. And in Dar es Salaam, rain showers continue at 28 with highs of 30, lows of 24. It's 70 degrees in Johannesburg. We'll see those cloudy conditions through most parts of today. It continues to rain in Lagos at 26 with highs of 33. We'll see lows of 25. Kinshasa is rainy at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Sunny conditions in Beijing at 6, highs of 7 and lows of 1. Cloudy in Paris at 4, highs of 7 and lows of 3. 8 will be the high in London, where it's cloudy at 6. And New York coming into Wednesday, 3 degrees, highs of 5 and lows of 1.
spice up your life.
In terms of time and minutes, we're out of traffic hour. However, the situation on the roads much different from the time. Still continues to be crazy on Uhuru Highway this morning, in and outbound, and we're also seeing traffic continuing on Langata Road this morning. It's not too terrible as it was in the 6 o'clock hour, but still quite something. As you get to the Globe Cinema overpass coming in from the Thika Superhighway via Muranga Road, that continues. All right. So we also see some traffic coming off of Muthui Square and Kiambu Road. So that's where it continues. Not too crazy, but keep us in touch with what's going on with you through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
So are you a DSTV subscriber? Yes, you are, City, aren't you? No, you are a DSTV subscriber, right? You have DSTV subscription. And we're talking about Showmax. You can add Showmax to your DSTV subscription, regardless of whatever DSTV package you have. If it's DSTV Premium, DSTV Access, DSTV Family, Compact or Compact Plus. Enjoy Showmax at 50% discount. Pay only 380 shillings a month if you add Showmax to your monthly bill. So whichever DSTV you have, just add 380 and you have Showmax. What does that mean? You now get access to all this unlimited content on all these devices, wherever you are. 380 shillings. www.showmax.com. Go there for more details.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
11 minutes
Nairobi.
to the top of the hour, to the end of today's show. In the Situation Room is CT Muga Ndu Okoh. My name is Eric Latiff, and our guest is His Excellency FCPAK Dr. Wycliffe Oparanya, Governor of Kakamega County, Deputy Party Leader of ODM, and very many other things. But let's stick with those two first. Man who wants to be the next president of the republic if he gets the ODM ticket in March. What would you do if you became president?
As I said earlier, when we got independent, there were areas that we were to focus on to change the lives of our people. And I mentioned poverty, which I still feel that many of our people are still very poor, maybe because of the policies that we came up with since independence. Many of our people have continued to be unemployed. My first focus will be dealing with poverty. And you know, dealing with poverty, you cannot do it using one lane. You need quite a number of activities and policies to be undertaken. And I feel when President Uhuru Kenyatta came up with this issue of industrialization, I think that is one of the areas I feel as a government we should focus on. Industries in the rural area, where based on the raw material that they are. I remember in my own county, we used to have Mumias Sugar Company, a very big company, which used to employ 5,000 people. At the moment, it is closed because of mismanagement and other factors, poor policies at the national level, allowing importation of sugar and so on. These are some of the things that I will have to deal with. Industrialization, make sure that every county has a particular cluster of industries based on, of course, availability of raw material in that particular, the comparative advantage.
Let's take the example of Kakamega.
Yeah.
What kind of industry would
Kakamega I will revive. First of all, I will straight away go to revive the sugar sector, because this is a sector that our people have been in it since in the 70s, from 1976 up to now. And because also Kakamega has the advantage of having rainfall throughout the year. I'll make sure that I develop dairy industry in that region. We have pushed also the coal refinery, which we soon is going to be constructed within, because we still feel we have coal deposits, a lot of it in Kakamega, which we abandoned just before independence. We have also a lot of maize that we grow. Some of it goes to waste. We must harness and make sure that this maize, there is value addition, so that farmers are able to get more. And also an industry that will support the health sector, being a populous county. I have built a very big hospital. I do not want situations where people go out there to India for treatment. Make Kakamega to be a medical city. Yes.
Even as you look at that, what do you think stops some of those things from happening right now?
What stops those is that we have no proper policies. We need to develop proper policies. Even if you say that you are going to propagate such an agenda of Big Four, you must have a roadmap. How do we reach there? Because talking about it, you can talk about it. There must be a proper roadmap, proper policies, proper legislation, and proper resource mobilization towards that direction. I think that is what is lacking in our current system.
So, as we conclude, let's talk about what you said, the party ODM, and the party ODM reaching out to others to see the like-minded other parties that you can work with. So you mentioned that Jubilee, let's call it Jubilee A, is on board. You have conversations with WIPA, with KANU, with ANC. What kind of structure do you see coming? Is it another like CORD and NASA?
Obviously, we have come up with the Azimio la Umoja. At the moment, we are in Azimio. And I hope that those coming will come to support Azimio. Because we are hopeful that if this country will come together as a country, there's a lot of tribalism in this country. And we have failed as a state because of the high level of tribalism. Look at Tanzania, who are our neighbors. Those presidents that have been there, they come from very small tribes. They have been presidents. Even the founding father, Nyeri, used to come from very small. But here, when you are from small, you are condemned. We don't want that situation. And that's why we were saying as Kenya, why can't we change to a parliamentary system? Because a parliamentary system then gives it a chance to anybody, even from Somali, from Northeastern, to be a president of this country, to be a prime minister of this country, head of state of this country. But the system we have, the winner takes it all. I'm telling you, those small tribes are condemned. That's the truth.
As we conclude then, what message would you give to those who maybe they'll be watching the Azimio event on Friday and they're sitting there wondering, so what's this thing all about?
You remember my party leader has many friends who have been supporting him all along. They have been going to him in person, as groups, and urging him that this is now your chance to be president. And because he has stood the last 4 times losing, sometimes in some unclear circumstances. So he said, since I've gone for handshake, maybe it's the government support I didn't have. So why can't I go for the government support and do a handshake? So these people have been urging him. He said, okay, let me try and go around the country and talk to the people and see how people will react. And wherever he went, he has seen people saying, go for it, go for it. These same people, he has now called them for the 10th meeting. Now, to declare publicly what you told me, I have now decided to go for it, or I have not decided to go for it. Now this time it's Oparanya Tosh. Maybe. That's what we don't know what to, yeah. So it is not an ODM meeting. People think it's an ODM meeting. If these people come together, even partiless, there are people who are partiless, but they are voters. They are all coming there, the disabled and the groups, they are coming together saying, now we have told you to go for it. Can you answer us?
Okay.
So that's what we are going for on Friday.
Governor Oparanya, thank you very much for joining us. Come
Thank
again
you.
soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Karibu tena.
Asante sana.
Listen to today's proverb from City Muga.
Yes. This man took me to task about the word that begins this program, harusi. Given my cultural background, I call it harusi. Harusi, usioalikwa, ukivunja kikombe, utalipa. And the translation, of course, directly is if you're not invited to a wedding and you break a cup, you pay for it. The key message is there are ways of mitigating problems that arise. Yes.
Thank you very much for tuning into Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Join us again tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Justice Thursdays. We'll have a Supreme Court Judge, Smokin Wanjala, at 8 a.m., plus other guests. Good morning. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you.